Hello, guys. It's Mr. Sci-Fi, Mark Zicree, on this wonderful Thursday. I'm just going to get onto the table thing because we always simulcast Mr. Sci-Fi and my round table of writers, directors, actors, producers, etc. At this time on Thursdays during the pandemic. So I'm just going to call that up, and we will be good. So, and if you haven't watched Things to Come, one of my favorite movies, I've put it on Mr. Sci-Fi and also included a commentary. And Elaine and I acted out one of the lost scenes from that film, so it's very, very fun. So I highly recommend that if you haven't done it. And then, but now I'm just getting online, and we will see what we will see. Here we go. Here's the link, and I'm just clicking on that, and we will all join this other meeting that I run. And you're free to type in questions, and our moderator, Adam Sartain, will ask them of me. And you can learn everything you want to know about everything. So thanks, guys. And Elaine is also joining us. So here's Elaine. Let me angle this so we can all see Elaine. There she is. Look, there's Elaine. And I'll move the light so we can all see everybody, and everybody can see us, and so forth. And that's it. So I'm trying to get it to connect here. It's taking its time. Oh, there we go.
Join with the wallpaper.
The what?
Wallpaper.
If you want me to.
Yes, please.
All right, hold on, I will, sure. If that's what you'd like. That's okay. Now, let's see. Join with computer audio. There we go.
Hi, Adam.
Hi,
Thank
guys.
you, Adam.
So let's put Elaine over here.
All I have to do is learn how to use it. We all know that I'm technologically challenged.
Okay, let's see if we can get this right.
I'm wearing my sunglasses because I did a dumb thing yesterday. I had 4 cups of coffee, and I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning working on the computer, and my eyes are killing me.
Oh dear! Oh dear!
Now the
They're blue. One blue this way, one blue that way.
So, Elena, I can hear you on Zoom, but I have the live thing up, and I can't hear you guys from that one.
Oh,
wait, on which thing can't you hear us on? I'm sorry.
Mr. Sci-Fi.
You can't hear us on Mr. Sci-Fi?
Yeah.
That's extremely weird because let's see. I don't see anything. It should be working. I mean, you know, I can
see you.
Yes.
It says end stream. Does that?
No. It's a stream.
You don't want to end the stream.
No, it's Jesus. I have no idea. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Let me know, Wilhelm and all the others. And if you can't hear me, final.
Maybe it's just my phone then.
It's you, Adam.
It's my fault.
You're just trying to wreck everything.
Can other people hear you?
Yeah. They just typed it in, sweetie.
Oh, yeah.
So okay, great. Well, welcome everyone. So now, is anyone not here on the West Coast? Is anyone on the middle part of the country, or the East Coast, or further east? I guess not. So
is anybody half asleep? I'll bet Judith is.
Yeah, Jesus. So shall we start?
And then, of course, my 4-footed alarm clock wakes me up at 8:30 in the morning.
Well, sure. So Dave, would you like to start, since you're on the screen and awake? You're eating. I get it.
Okay. Well, why don't we do Judith, because she's had so if she needs to do a fade, she can do a fade.
Sure. Good. Okay. Great.
I got stuff.
Good.
Okay. Great.
Okay, I'm Judith Smiley. I'm from Montreal. Did a lot of TV, radio, and lots of theater.
Great.
New York, Broadway, off-Broadway, clubs. My ex-husband and I built a recording studio, and I produced, cast, and did a humongous amount of voiceovers. Okay, that's the past. Now, I had lunch with Billy yesterday, and I gave him my one-page pitch slash
treatment,
1 page, and he loved it.
Great.
So we're going to get together, and he wants to sort of mentor me. My audio demo will be ready on Wednesday. It was supposed to be ready, but the guy in the studio got a lot of work, and we all know what that's like at 4 o'clock in the morning. God knows. So it'll be ready on. I'll be ready on Wednesday, and I'm working on my pitch for PET.
Great.
I went through all my papers and got all my notes out. I'm taking a class with a big casting director and animation class on
cool.
Thursday,
Wow.
next Thursday, before this. And so I'm looking at all my notes and practicing and stuff and getting ready for that.
Great.
So I put all my, now I've got, Adam is such a doll. He helped me set up my Yeti microphone. Now all I have to do is learn how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I've got like a corner in my bedroom that's like a little studio now, because
Right.
I've got something to practice with. I've got a cassette deck, and I've got a microphone and the computer and stuff like that. So I've got a nice little setup here.
Great.
I got the paperwork put away in my bedroom. Oh, you know what? I'm doing my demo. I want to do my demo in August. I have a lovely scene with Tom Katz's, but I'm going to need an office and a gun.
Okay.
I can get a fake gun from Mike Lopez, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
But I'm going to need an office because I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
Anyway, so what?
You can put the word out on that.
Oh, and I'm going to be doing your Elaine, the scene from that you so kindly lent me from Voiceover.
Oh, great.
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 I'm looking at that. So the mic and help me. Yeah. Oh, I had a nice. I'm working on like 14 million things at once. I'm a Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let me wait 5 minutes. I had a nice conversation with my kid today.
With who?
Because I'm working on Half Dead,
Mm-hmm.
and which is what I look like right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going through all the funny issues that we went through, when we were in our 20s. And I've got a lot of material for that.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, it's practically going to write itself. So now I've been a busy girl.
Oh, good.
Good for you.
Good.
Oh, does
Now I've
anyone?
been of time, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Of time, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Very much. Does anybody?
What? Elaine?
Does anybody not know who Billy is?
Oh, I'm sorry. My cousin Billy Reback wrote and produced Home Improvement.
Ah, yes. Okay, great. Terrific. So anything else, Judith?
No, he may have some animation work for me
Oh, good.
in the future. So we're talking about that.
Great.
Well, things are moving.
Okay. Well, great. Well,
Like I said, it's about
oh,
time.
yay. 3 cheers.
Oh, My Little Pet, by the way, is my dragon movie. It's not like Lord of the Rings. It's more like The Hobbit.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Great.
That
Well,
kind of
3
thing.
cheers. Yay. So, Adam, do we have any Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
We do right out the gate.
Mhm.
And I do want to mention for those watching along on Mr. Sci-Fi that we have enabled Super Chat.
Mhm.
So what does that mean? That means you can spend a couple dollars and there's a little dollar sign in the chat box.
Wow.
You can click that and then your comment will be prioritized.
Wow. Jesus.
Oh, wow.
That's
Okay.
That's how that works.
Wow.
You don't have to have a super nice question, or if you just want to throw us some money, that's great.
Yeah, sure. Cool. Okay,
But,
great.
That's what Super Chat does.
Swell.
So our question is
Yes.
from Rose Kirby,
Hi, Rose.
and she asks, "What do you think of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds?"
Yeah, it's like I've listened to it, but somehow I've never really gotten deeply into it. I know there are people who really, really love it, the various versions that have been done of it, and they've been trying to get a movie of it going for a long, long time. But it's okay. What?
Big fan.
You're a big fan? Okay,
Oh, great.
great. Well, cool.
And it's got several versions through the years. They've done different actors playing the role that originated with
Richard Burton.
Richard Burton.
Yeah. Liam Neeson did one version of it. So great. Well, Dave Edison, our erstwhile editor, is a big fan, and that speaks well for it. So okay, so let's see now who's on the East Coast. Anybody? Anybody? Hands or in the middle of the country? Nope. Okay.
Nina's in the middle of the country.
Who is? I'm sorry. Nina.
Nina's in the
Okay,
middle of
so,
the country.
well, Nina, if
She's
you
in
wanna-
Chicago.
Yeah. Well, Nina, do you want to take your turn? Sure. There we go.
Oh,
There we go.
Nina.
How are y'all?
Hi.
I apologize for being late. It's an art form for me. I really, I'm getting there. Woo! Okay. How is everybody?
Good.
Good.
Because I've never talked to you before.
Yeah.
Well, they don't know that I'm late all that. I used to be late all the time. Now I'm just minimally behind. So this week has been, we moved into a new house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
So it's insane. It's a little crazy. And it's great, but it's mind blowing at the same time because there's a lot to do. A lot of stuff when you live in an apartment, you don't worry about weed whackers and all that stuff that seems to be my husband's love.
Yeah, well, okay.
So it's a different thing. It's just a different lifestyle. So I was first. I'm frustrated. Is anybody sick of not performing out there? Is anybody like just had it with not being able to perform?
Well,
and get up and do?
yeah, people are going a little bit stir crazy, of course, and but that's why we did the episode of Space Command where we could have our actors appear in it, and also we just finished a new pilot called Sweet Haven where our actors are going to be doing a table read on Zoom, so again that we can put it out to our audience because one has to come up with alternatives, and that's what we're doing. So, but if you go on Mr. Sci-Fi on my Mr. Sci-Fi channel, we've been posting a lot of content, and millions of people are seeing it, so that's great. And and so that gives
hooked up. Yeah, I need to thank you for seeing that. Great.
Yeah.
It's just, I just noticed this week how I was just so frustrated. I mean, I generally dance around the house anyway, but I just came in from a walk just to burn off some extra energy, and unfortunately my neighbors saw me dancing in the street, so now. Oh
dear. Now you're odd. Yes, now you're odd.
I hear you.
So that's but was so great. So do you have any questions or anything you wanted to ask or share?
No, I'm in the milieu of trying to dig out of the abyss of not doing.
Yes.
Show up and even be willing to show up when I haven't shown up that much for myself this week. Yes.
Well, this is. Do you have a an action partner? Do you know what that is? Where
I know what it is. I don't really have one.
Yeah, because that's where you check in once a day with the person and you say what you're going to do creatively and during that day, and then you check in and say what you've done. And it kind of holds you accountable.
Yeah.
Right. And so the table, it's very easy to get action partners via the table. Judith might be a good candidate because no autographs please. She's got her sunglasses on, but again, it's just because for all of us it's very hard to make stuff happen, and when we have someone who's holding us accountable, it helps. So I highly recommend that.
Because there are two things it's a very good time to do. One is to really research what's going on in the industry right now and research the people that you can reach out to, whose work you admire, directors, managers.
Starting a podcast,
Also starting a podcast, because starting a podcast, which I was about to say too, especially with the joys of moving into your own new home.
Yes.
The upside and the downside, there's so many things because people are stuck at home and looking for something to amuse themselves.
Yes.
Or connect with. And so just reaching out and doing that and creating a persona, which ultimately could become a one-person show, might be an interesting thing to play with.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know how you get stuck I'm in my head.
Yes. And that's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
No, because again, the for us, we're not only creating new content, but also we're starting a new podcast called Greenlighting Yourself, so that we can interview people that we want to learn from. For instance, tomorrow we're interviewing the head of Roadside Attractions, which is a huge independent feature company, and so it gives us a great way of finding out what we want to learn. And we had actually a conference call with the head of Cachette today, who's advising us and mentoring us as well. And so now's a great time to get people to be information sources, and a podcast is a great way to make that happen. So.
Guys, thank you.
Sure, you bet. Yay! Cheers. You bet. So, so Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
We do.
Great.
Moving on to our next question, which is
Hey, guys.
from. There it is. From Mark Lungo.
Yay, hi, Mark.
He asks, "What advice would you give someone who's writing a writer's guide for a series they've created? Asking for a friend." Who is me.
Yeah, I'm glad you have friends. The main thing is to say, is this a writer's guide that's being written as a sales tool? In other words, are you going to give it to the potential buyers, or is it a writer's guide you're writing for yourself? Because if you're writing it for yourself just to sort of flesh out who the characters are, what the stories are, it can be any length. It doesn't have to be pretty, you know, it's just basically to inform yourself. If it's a selling tool, then it should be short. It should be entertaining to read. It should be, I mean, that's where you can even get into things like PowerPoint or animatics or any number of things to beguile. You know, it's the main trick. What I always try and do is I always sort of say, okay, I turn on the TV. What am I seeing? Where does the show go to? What's the pace of it? You know, and now, of course, that you'll have one story that could cover an entire season or more. The structure is much more like a novel than like individual TV episodes used to be, where they were beginning, middle, and end. So it's a larger structure. But
right now, you want to be like one of those mean novels
Mhm.
where you think, I'm really sleepy, I'll just finish this chapter, and you end every chapter on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So you sort of want to do that.
Yeah. So, but you know, it's it's whatever does the trick, you know, and it varies depending on if it's something you intend to shoot yourself, something you intend to try and sell, something you intend to utilize as a graphic novel. There's any number of ways to do things, but most people get far too detailed and far too lost in minutia, because the question is, what's the story? Who are the characters? Why do we take this journey with them? Why do we care about them? Those are the main issues. So you know, that's what I would say. So let's see. So I noticed that Paul Dove is signed in. So you're in the UK or Wales or wherever the hell you are. So Liverpool, you're in Liverpool. Liverpool, you're a Liverpudlian. So go for it, Paul. It's your turn.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Elaine. Sorry I've been missing the last couple of weeks, but as you can imagine, it's 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I'm up early the next day.
Yeah, really.
Like I am again in the morning. There's been not a lot happening apart from a few problems at my computer, which I was hoping to buy a new one when I was out there in September, but that's not going to happen at the minute. This pandemic is making different businesses, but different things. So it's things are looking up.
Oh, really good. That's great.
Well, there's nothing I need at the minute. Just happy to say hello to everyone, and I won't be staying too long because I'm up early again.
Yes, that's fine.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, good seeing you, Paul. So there's nothing you need. Okay.
I keep on getting all your Mr. Sci-Fi stuff.
Yes, it's fun. Well, it was very fun to be able to show Things to Come, which is one of my favorite movies from 1936. It's a British film. And so if you go on Mr. Sci-Fi, you can not only watch the entire film with my introduction, but we just posted my entire commentary, the whole film, plus Elaine and I enacted one of the lost scenes, one of the deleted scenes with images from that scene. So it's just great fun, great fun. So, but thanks, Paul. It's good to see you. So, yay, Paul, yay. So, Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have another question. This one is from Final Frontier Reality.
Aha.
And they ask, what do you think of making a movie of Exo Squad? Which was a cartoon made by Universal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that familiar with Exo Squad, you know, because I think that was after I had stopped writing animation. But sure, I mean, again, the trick, most cartoons that are then made into live action features fail, like the Flintstones and so forth. Every now and then, they've been trying to make a He-Man movie forever. They made one, but it wasn't a hit. And you know, the trick is always finding the way to bring it into live action and keep it true to the source material, but also expand it so the audience that aren't necessarily fans of that show can still find it an entertaining film on its own. It's always a challenge. And you know, so, but of course, I mean, the thing about animated shows generally is that there's a ton of stories because they order many episodes, and there's usually varied characters. There's always antagonists. There's always pretty interesting villains, and it moves at a good clip. So that's a good source for movies and TV series, live action, as well as graphic novels and comic books and all that stuff. So that's fine. I know Mark Lungo is a big fan of Centurions, which is a show I wrote for that Ted Peterson story edited. A dear friend who we no longer have with us, but that was another fun show as well. So okay, great. So let's see. So Dave Edison, are you ready to belly up to the bar and take your turn?
Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, they also made a TV show of He-Man.
Yes. Well, I wrote.
Him and his family.
Yes. Yeah.
He was the only animated character. Remember?
Really? Jesus, that's interesting. Okay. Great. Well, thanks, Mike. So, Dave, go for it.
Hi, everyone. Dave Edison here, Space Command's editor and editor of other things. Keeping busy. There are a couple of people on actually, the only two-person panel up here is keeping me busy. Working today on the commentary of Ripple Effect. Mark and Elaine analyze. It's actually pretty interesting. If you've some interesting behind-the-scenes stuff for you, Mr. Sci-Fi listeners over there.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Dave, Ripple Effect is the 2-hour Space Command episode we did during the pandemic as a special companion piece episode. So it has many of our stars from Space Command and more. So, and you were wonderful working on and editing it. So yeah, so this is the audio commentary.
Thank you. That was intense.
Yes.
So anyway, we're getting that done. What else did we do this week? You're uploaded, by the way.
Thank you. I
think that's been uploaded.
Yeah, but lower colonic would help.
And God, this and that. I mean, it's just keeping busy. Somebody just came back from a walk. I've been trying to find time to do that all day. Maybe tomorrow.
Good.
I'm not going to walk to Chicago, but maybe tomorrow I'll get to get a little exercise.
If you really wanted to take a daily walk minimally for exercise, you should get a dog. That would really make that happen.
But the drawback to that is I'd have a dog.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
And we have furniture, so you have to choose.
Yeah, exactly. Well, dogs are better than furniture. So, but that's just an opinion. But go ahead. What do you need?
I usually don't have to pick up after the furniture.
Depends.
Oh, look what the furniture did on the floor.
Yes. That would be a story.
So, all kinds of things, Space Command, and what have you, and working on a little project on the weekend as I have time for my friend Shy and Billy. They've got a little show called South of Sanity.
How fun.
That we did season 1 of a couple of years ago that split up into webisodes you can find on YouTube. Unfortunately, it's the censored version because it's YouTube. It's a bit wild at times. And we're working on the season 2 that they did as a pandemic episode as well. So just as time permits, at the rate I'm going, this whole thing will be over and done with before that's released. But just doing what I can.
Yay.
I'm one man and barely.
Well, great. Well, Dave is wonderful to work with, and he's been a joy throughout the entire journey.
Try it sometime.
And his furniture is in better shape than our furniture.
Well, yeah, because we have the dogs, we have the puppies. So great. But yay! Thanks, Dave.
Stay well, everyone.
Yay! So, Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question.
Yes, we have our next question from Wilhelm Sowers.
Hi, Wilhelm.
Who asks, what are common mistakes that new writers make when writing their series Bible?
Well, it goes into way too much detail. It's way too long. It's way too dense. It's not pleasant to read. It's not easy to read. It's not entertaining. And, and again, one doesn't necessarily the reason to write a series Bible mainly is just so you know what the show is. You don't necessarily have to share it with the buyers. Again, it's what's going to take it over the top, what's going to work. And that changes, I'm creating a show with Rockne O'Bannon now, who created Farscape and is currently executive producer on Evil on CBS. And Elaine and I just finished the pilot script. Here it is, Sweet Haven, and it's got all these amazing actors in it. And we're going to do a table read of it. But will Rock being attached to help sell it? Yeah, but will it sell? We'll find out. This is the journey.
I think the main thing that often goes wrong is that you read and read and read, and you're trying to figure out what it's about, what part it's about, what's the through line drive,
what's the show,
and the characters. What does each character want, which both will draw him to other characters or shove him away from other characters. So you want a sense of key feelings and a lot of dynamism in as few words as possible.
It's also a very good idea to study shows and say, why do I care about these people? What are they doing that keeps me engaged? And you know, like for instance, Breaking Bad, which is a great show, has a very dark main character, but why do we care about him? Well, it's because he's driven, he cares about things, he's trying to leave a nest egg for his family. We invest in him. And there's a very easy trick one can do when writing an anti-hero, which is you surround him with people who are worse than him, because the audience tends to identify with the least bad guy. And you know, so there's that as well. Or you identify with the person who's most passionately pursuing what they're trying to achieve. So those are other tricks, you know. So but yeah, so that's some of it. But don't get too bogged down by a series Bible. The script is far more important than the Bible. The script is really what tells you what the show is and what the voices of the characters are. And if that doesn't work, no amount of series Bibles will accomplish anything. So okay, so now let's see. Is anybody on the East Coast or elsewhere?
Or does anybody have to leave early or get to bed
sorry about
early?
that, guys.
Anybody else?
Yeah, you do. Okay, well let's do Sheila. Sheila, why don't we do you? Go for it. Unmute your mic.
Hi. So I wanted to put out a casting notice also.
Sure.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My friend he's gonna do a Zoom reading of 1984. We just
Fun.
put it up.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It's on Playbill.
Yeah.
So
Great.
go for it, people.
Cool.
Go enjoy it.
That's fun. That's fun. Great.
Let's see. I'm enjoying listening to the questions that are being asked because that's a lot of what's going on through my head as well.
Cool.
I am actually reading a lot of novels right now, and I'm kind of curious of like some of the universes that I'm reading that I would like to actually bring them to scripts. So they're not mine, obviously, but I'm trying to. I feel like I need female screenwriters, so I reached out to a friend who's a screenwriter, but she hasn't come back to me.
Right.
But,
Never write a script of a property you don't own. Okay? Because it's just very unlikely you'll acquire that property, and you cannot sell a script based on someone else's intellectual property. Period. You can't.
even if I'm in contact with them.
Well, if they have to give you an option. You have to have paperwork.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
exactly.
if you have an option, but again, the problem with an option is once the option runs out, your rights to that property run out, and you can't sell that script. So writing an original is better in many ways. And also ask yourself, what about that project interests you? Because sometimes, you know, you don't necessarily need to do that project if what you have in mind is different enough, but it might be a similar genre. It might, you know, it's sort of, for instance, like with Space Command. Space Command certainly is reminiscent of Star Trek, but it isn't Star Trek, and so that allows me to own it. But certainly you can see the fingerprints. You can see my inspirations, and but that's fine because again, there's no. I haven't used any characters from Star Trek. The visual designs are not from Star Trek, etc. You know.
Did you and this novelist connect in any particular strong way?
I've been talking to them, and I've asked them if anybody's approached them, and they said nobody has. So
okay.
Well, I mean,
but they said that they would love to have somebody write a screenplay.
Great.
Because it's like they've built such a great universe.
Well, but that's great.
Then
but
that's
the main
possible.
thing is to create an email track where they give you an option, and you know, and they say that you have it for this period, or you know, just make sure that it's an email track because you don't want to go into a lot of work and expense.
Right.
With somebody who can just say, "Oh, I've changed my mind."
Yes. And
Hey, Mark,
yes.
I have a really weird exception to that.
Okay. Sure.
I heard about Neuromancer, written by William Gibson.
Yes.
He announced that he wanted the world that he had created available to any writer to operate inside of and write stories from inside that world.
Really?
I don't know what that involves legally or whatever, but that was a concept he had in creating such a detailed future Earth that people would pitch in and join in as fellow writers.
And when did he make that offer? How long?
That was a little while ago, so I'm not sure what it's like now.
Yeah, it may be different now. You know,
but it's a pretty amazing universe he created. So it'd be an interesting, you know, if you're interested in post-apocalyptic Earth scenarios, he has a really clever one.
Right.
So,
but that's very, very rare because most people are very rare. Yeah. So anything else, Sheila?
Our movie Bad CGI Sharks won a comedy festival.
Cool.
Oh, great. Congratulations.
International, out of 60 films internationally, we won.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yay.
A little bit like the Oscars. Yay.
Great.
What's it called again, and where can we find it?
It is Bad CGI Sharks. You can see it on Tubi. You can stream it on YouTube. You could also buy the DVD on everything that sells DVD.
So. Great. That's great. Well, congratulations. 3 cheers. Yay. So, Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we do. Our next question is from Scott Baker.
Hi, Scott. The other Scott Baker,
again,
the evil one.
Our Mr. Sci-Fi fan, Scott Baker, and not the Scott Baker who's part of
the antimatter one. I get it.
Yeah, the antimatter.
Yeah.
So he asks, what is your view on the emergence of AI and the likelihood of singularity or conflict?
Well, the problem is, of course, that you know, when Isaac Asimov thought of the 3 laws of robotics, they were a really good idea that no one is actually doing. I mean, the idea with any AI to have it be a rule that it can't harm a human being, or by absence of action allow a human being to be harmed. That's really important, because right now all these AIs that we're developing, there is no proscription against them harming people. And so AI is a very dangerous thing, it really is. And, because they can think a lot faster than we can. And, hopefully it won't destroy humanity. Hopefully it won't be Skynet, but nobody is designing AI where it has built-in intrinsic limitations that don't allow it to do people harm. So that's a concern I have. In terms of the singularity, it determines how you're using that phrase. I mean, there's a lot of different uses of that phrase in different camps, whether you're talking physics or AI or computer development, so forth. So and there's also questions about whether whether any AI has succeeded in the Turing test. The Turing test was if you were communicating with an artificial intelligence, like via keyboard, for instance, would it be able to fool you that it was a human for a certain amount of time? Alan Turing suggested that idea for how you could determine that a machine had achieved consciousness. I don't agree with that opinion, by the way. But it also depends on how dumb the human is. But AI, so far, it hasn't done things that are really, really bad. But it is definitely something that could get way out of hand.
Computers that started to talk.
Yeah, there were 2 computers that started talking to each other, and they talked in their own language that they had created, and they had to turn them off because no one knew what they were saying to each other, and that was alarming. So, but yeah, so we'll see what happens. But so far so good.
In the meantime, we should start getting working on those inhibitor chips.
Yeah, absolutely. So, David Bartlett, do you want to take your turn? You're on the top row of our screen here. There we go.
Hi, everyone. All right, I'm David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a teacher, and a human rights activist, and a co-producer of Space Command.
Yay!
Yeah, there is much rejoicing.
Yes, there is.
I'm also the visual effects producer, the producer of Ripple Effect, the in charge of the studio, all the physical production, and all sorts of other things. So I've got a lot going on.
Great.
Let me see. The news this week is we have turned the corner on finishing the 12 individual alien set pieces that are key to our shooting coming up here soon.
Yay.
Great.
In what Lane has dubbed the Haunted House, which is 45 pages of the Space Command episodes 3 and 4 that take place inside an alien spaceship. So I'm going to dig this picture up while I talk, but I've got a photo,
cool,
a couple of photos of the set walls themselves. Now, I am also in charge of all the construction of the framing story sets. The framing story are those scenes that you see often at the beginning and the ending of episodes that they aren't exactly of that same episode, but they talk about aspects of it in a different context. So we've got those to be coming up here soon, and we're going to shoot them with COVID restrictions in place and everything else. And I'll be telling you all more about that soon, but we've got sets being constructed for that as we speak. So if anyone's interested in building things or painting things, now is the time. You can volunteer, and I even have some paid positions. Cool. So here is one of the set walls.
Wow, that's small.
That is finished.
Okay,
that
cool.
10 feet tall.
Great.
And 4 feet wide.
Yeah, yeah.
It will also be painted red on the surface of it. And here is a picture of the red one with 2 other ones. We do have this red one finished.
Cool, cool.
I like that picture. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And here's the more ominous looking 4 of them. And keep in mind that there will be 12 of them.
Yes.
And the studio will be 5 times the size of the studio we have there.
Right.
There are other set pieces involved in this too, and they light up and they glow and they make changes in colors, and it's very involved and very cool.
Cool.
Very cool.
Great.
So tomorrow I think I'm going to be seeing most of them painted red, which will be great because I'll be able to see them all for the first
great.
time.
That's great.
I'm excited about that.
Good.
So Sunday, we have an announcement. 5 o'clock on Sunday, we're going to have a Kickstarter brainstorming Zoom call.
Great.
So we'll send this out to the table. Anyone that wants to join in, similar to what we're doing now, anyone that has any ideas about brainstorming on how to get more money into the Kickstarter campaign,
great.
We've got money coming in. We're going to make the target, but we want to really push it over the top soon.
Yes.
So it's happening right now. You can go on Kickstarter, say Space Command Forgiveness Completion Episode 4.
Yes.
Is what the campaign is. You can look for that. You can jump in on that. You can also come on Sunday at 5 o'clock and add ideas that you have. If you know anyone that knows about Kickstarter campaign promotions and they want to join in, you can invite them as well.
Right.
Or just ask them questions yourself and ask the questions for them and anything along those lines. So
and let me elaborate a little on that, David. Right now we have a campaign going. We're about halfway through. We raised $27,000 of a $48,000 minimum. If we don't hit the $48,000, we don't get any of that money. And so we're going to have a Zoom call on Sunday. And even the Mr. Sci-Fi people who are listening and can also be part of that. We can send, if someone wants to be part of that, please just email me at markzickery@gmail.com and we can give you the link. Because what we're trying to do is, right now, I'm the main one pushing that rock up the mountain. It's like every day I'm posting about it and sending out emails and whatever ideas I can have. But if other people have ideas or want to take some things on or want to reach out to Sci-Fi Media, because we're creating so much content and the major sci-fi sites aren't aware of it, like IO9, etc. I could be doing media interviews, etc. And I'm sure some of our cast would be happy to do interviews. Anyone who wants to help bang the drum or help raise money or donate money, that's fine too. And we're still selling shares in Space Command for $7,500 each, or half shares for $3,750. So again, what we're trying to do is complete we have 2 hours in post of the show that we're busily working to complete, and then we're having the next, as you say, the rest of the second storyline, now the third storyline because of Ripple Effect, that we're looking to complete shooting on. So and then we can go from there. We can shoot the entire season, but money is the lubricant that keeps it going. So go ahead, please, David.
Indeed. So anyway, my background is that I made my first film when I was 10 years old, and I started doing theater and films in high school. I managed movie theaters when I was a teenager, and I moved to LA when I was 21 in 1980. And if you do the math, that was a long time ago. And I started working in giant movies right away. And then I started working independent films with Roger Corman, low budget, building sets with production designer Jim Cameron, who is now, of course, James. He was Jim then. And I learned low budget science fiction set building techniques from him and his crew. So here I am all these years later, putting them towards Space Command. So that's been a lot of fun to dredge up all that and bring it back forward in full circle. I started doing studio films in sound design. I worked on Pulp Fiction and Speed and Total Recall and Predator 2 and a bunch of other films. Then I got out of that and went back in independent films, and I've won 64 film festival awards. I have an award in every category, major category, above and below the line, except acting. So I have done some acting, but I haven't won any awards. I don't know if that's in my future, but it's been enjoyable in any case. So I'm really I have a wide range of experience. So the people that work with me know that I also like teaching. And the way that I do the teaching is people come and work with me, and I tend to put them in positions that they want to move up into or move into to begin with. They don't have much experience, so I help teach them the basics of it to get them started. And I've had many successes with that. My assistant, she's going to talk here soon, she said that she had a little concern about numbers and worrying about numbers, so I immediately put her onto the accounting of the petty cash, which kind of freaked her out at first, and she got into it, and she really got behind it, and now she's an expert at petty cash and helps with the checkbook and everything else. So I'm really happy to help people go like that forward and be able to teach them at the same time. So I will be happy to do that with you if you're interested.
Cool.
If you want to volunteer, that's great. If you need some little cash around the edges, we've got some of that too.
Okay.
And all things Space Command, I'm the one to talk to.
Great. Okay, cool. 3 cheers.
I shall have a brief recess while I walk dogs around the block.
Okay, and I'll
We're
keep
getting the dog eye.
the dog eye.
Be right back.
So, okay, yes, good. Okay, we'll see you in a minute, Elaine. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes.
You know, my furniture never gives me the eye.
Well, that's why you're lonely. So, but go ahead.
My wife says otherwise.
Well, yeah.
I forgot, there was one more thing, Mark.
Yes.
I also made a little film called I Am the Flag starring Jimmy Walden.
Mhm.
And it's on YouTube, and it is 1,200 views away from breaking 600,000 views.
Wow,
So I'm
congratulations.
very excited about that. If you guys want to check it out,
Great.
any comments, that would be great.
That's great. Thank you. So go ahead, Adam.
All right. We have another question from Mark Lungo.
Great, sure.
Would you ever consider writing for animation again, or have you left it completely behind?
I would consider it, but it would have to be a show that really engaged me. I mean, my one regret in terms of animation is that Michael Reeves, my dear friend Michael Reeves, was story editing Batman the Animated Series and wanted me to write one. And by then I was very thoroughly in live action. I think I was producing Sliders at the time, and so I turned him down. But in retrospect, I would have liked to have written for that show. But it would have to be something that really, really interested me. It couldn't just be like, Get Along Gang or something. Not that I didn't like writing Get Along Gang, but, I'm just saying, it would have to be really something that I could have fun with. So, yeah.
Like when we get to Space Command Below Decks.
Yes, exactly. exactly. But cool. So I noticed that Cindy Bear is here. Cindy, would you like to take your turn? Because it's been a long time since we've seen you at the table. If you're around, if you're hearing this. Cindy, are you there? I guess not. So, okay. Let's see. So, Louis Shapiro, did you want to take your turn? You're next in line on my screen. There you go.
Yeah, hi. I live in this house where there's another actor here, and one of the residents suggested that, the house is almost 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the residents suggested that we do a horror film, so I wrote a script.
Cool.
However, the administration in place turned me down, but I'm still negotiating.
Okay.
And I saw your movie this morning on Things to Come.
Yes.
And I liked your prologue very much.
Thank you.
However,
Yes.
I'd like to add some facts. I hope you find it interesting.
Mhm.
One of the people who was in that circle with H.G. Wells
Yes.
was Margaret Sanger.
Yes.
And they believed in the Malthusian theory of economics that the world would soon be overflowed with people, and there wouldn't be enough food and all that to feed everybody.
Yeah.
So of course, being ethnocentric, they kind of
Have we lost you? I can't hear you, Louis. Uh-oh. There you go. Your image is kind of frozen, but can you hear us? There you go. Now you're moving again.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, it probably reflected the thinking of the times.
Yes.
Anyway, we have to change our focus and with including other people and all this, being less narcissistic about ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
We make movies and all that.
That's true. So is there anything else you need? Any questions you have?
No.
Okay. Yay. 3 cheers. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, our next question is from El Johnorino.
Wow.
Says, hello from Scotland.
Wow, Scotland. Great country.
Thanks as always for doing these streams. How goes it with your Greenlighting Yourself book?
Good question.
Are you going to publish a paper, ebook, or both?
Both. And it's already sold. It's being published by Silman James, who publishes the Twilight Zone Companion. I really like working with them. I'm writing the book. It's just, a slow process because I'm juggling it with everything else that I'm doing. But I'm making steady progress on it. And it's fun to encapsulate everything that we've learned along the way. And yeah, that's it. So I try and do.
Are you updating it to include information about the situation we're all in, being able to only shoot from our homes?
Well,
or in unique situations.
I mean, the main thing I'm doing is the ad line will be, if you survive the pandemic, buy this book. So. No, I'm joking. No, I mean, I may talk about that, but again, I'm very cognizant that by the time the book came out, the pandemic hopefully will be largely over, and so you don't want to be too based in the moment you're in rather than the moment they'll be reading it. So
depends what happens in November.
That's true. Well, I'll visit you in Guantanamo. But yay. Okay. So, so that's the answer. So the book is, and we're starting the Greenlighting Yourself podcast, which we'll be doing, fairly regularly, I think, interviewing a lot of people who make movies and so forth. So that should be very, very fun. So, subscribe to Mr. Sci-Fi if you haven't, and we'll have the first interview of Greenlighting Yourself on the next few days. So great. So let me see. So I guess, Matthew, you're next on my screen. So go for it.
Okay, I guess I'm unmuted now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. How are you guys? Hope you're good. So I'm Matthew. Some of you guys met me last time because I was invited by Adam to kind of tie that in. Adam is voicing several characters in, I don't think I'm pointing to the right way, Diamond Dragons, which is what I'm developing. It's basically a hero's journey. It's essentially Lord of the Rings if dragons were at the helm. And it's a story about what's most important in life. It's pretty serious for the most part. It does kind of follow that feeling of fellowship where it starts off fairly happy-go-lucky, but things take a very dark turn really quickly. And it's a lot of fun. If you want to read any of it, feel free to message me at one point. I can also drop a link here, which is, I've created this set of videos that basically is a janky / rough previs of the first 15 to 20 minutes, ostensibly, of what the film could be or would be and this kind of thing. And you can even see some of the concept art. This is a wonderful castle that one of my concept artists, Claudia Bezak, who's done a lot of video game work. She's really wonderful. She just has a fantastic creative mind with bringing things to life. And anyways, she made this wonderful things that you can see. So we have concept artists aboard. We have a whole VO cast. Obviously, I mentioned Adam. I'm part of that cast. My background is as an actor and a performer and a singer and all that kind of stuff. So if anybody ever wants to reach out and say, well, what does this guy do? Is he just a joker and he says he's an actor, but come on now, you could find out more about me and I could feel free to tell you. In fact, just on this shirt alone, I didn't even realize I was wearing this. This was my previous business. I used to do 12 years of live Star Wars fight scene work with, it's really hard to explain. I would build the lightsaber props. I would redesign the costumes so that they were plausible for lots of crazy movement on stage, live, and performing this crazy fight work, again, all live. So it was quite a journey to undertake. But to say more about what I'm kind of looking for or needing is really just mostly support, people to at least go visit the links, have a look at it, see if it's something that even you enjoy. And if so, either pass it on to other people or, we're trying to crowdfund. I'm trying to do this mainly for my artists right now. I want to I want to pay Adam and the whole slew of other people, especially the 3D artists, because that's what we're going to have to go hard in the paint on, you know, with the 3D, and just all the other kind of slew of details that are going to go on about making it happen. My composer's fantastic. It's this young guy from New York, and I'm just completely shattered at how amazing he is. He's a savant and a genius in all his work, and I don't know how he does it, because he's very young. He's 20 something. And I was just like, how are you this good at everything? Like, it's how is this possible without shenanigans and magic? So that's about it. I don't know if there's anything else that I could speak about, unless people had some questions, you know, like maybe you're like, hey, I heard you mention Lord of the Rings, but you said dragons, and I'm already hooked or whatnot, because who doesn't like dragons?
Right. I mean, so would you say that, I mean, the biggest challenge is raising money, or what's the biggest challenge around this?
That's a very good question, Mark, and I bet you have way more experience on all of that, because this would be the very first feature production that I've ever made. It's a feature-length film, just by the way, if I didn't make that clear too. It's definitely not a short. It's ostensibly going to be 2.5 hours long,
right?
Something like that. Maybe not quite that much, but the point is something akin. But I would say, yes, financially seems to be the crippling factor that would go into almost anybody's thing, because I feel as a director myself, because I've directed plenty of live projects and taken things from A to Z and had to fight through, you all know what I'm talking about, when you're going through and everything's going well and then disaster strikes.
Well, sure.
And let's be honest, that separates the men and women from the boys and girls, because then you either, pardon my French, fold like a card table, or you ante up and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. You got to do this. You got to do that. We got to do this. Get it done. Not tomorrow, not after breakfast, now, not to do a Shawshank quote, but it's true. Like there's so many problem solving skills that I feel like I have learned over all the years. And this comes also from theater and performance, and all this kind of stuff, that you just, people don't think about that thing. They just think, oh, I'm going to write this movie and it's going to be great. And I'm like, yeah, right. Just wait until you try to organize 25 people or 40 people or something. It's like, it's ludicrous. Well, and in addition to needing the money, Mark, absolutely, the places where I do not have the skill sets, which I can't possibly have them all. It's impossible. I need to get people into those roles, like I have with concept artists, like I have with Adam and the other slew of VO artists, and then sound design. So this is what's going on. The money and finding the right people who will say, oh my God, I love your script. I want to be part of it. Like my composer, I'll just put it this way. I'm not trying to toot my own chain. I'm so livid with him. I keep saying, please, Eamon, I'm going to be sending you some money. And he's like, just absolutely not, Matthew. I will not take any money from you. And I'm like, that's great. For God's sake, why not, man? I love your music. Let me send coin, please. And he's like, nope. And I'm like, for God's sakes, though, why? I mean, I'm being honest, kid. Tell me why. And he says, I just love working with you so much. It's been the best experience. And I was like, I'm not crying, you're crying, so stop it. Don't say that. You know? But I was impressed with that. I didn't think that would ever be the case. I had no idea that would ever occur. And I just had a conversation a night ago, and we're always on the phone for 3.5 hours trying to talk about, what do you think of Starsha's theme? And he's like, well, I was coming up with it. We're like hard in the paint on developing this. And,
well, see, here's the thing of it. Just to jump in.
No, please.
Yeah, the question is always, what's going to bring something into the real world? What's going to make it real? What's going to make it happen? There's a point of critical mass where something definitely will happen, but we as artists have to will it into existence. A mistake that many, many people make is that they're not focused enough, they're not clear enough, that they overcomplicate everything. And a big part of my creative process is simplifying. So for instance, generally even on Space Command, we don't generally have a huge team. We have a small team of extremely reliable people, and so, but I'm very clear, my goal is to move things forward. And as I say often to David Bartlett, we're in the content creation business. And as long as we're clear on what we're doing, it's like, because many people, they're so scattered that nothing actually ever gets to the finish line. And
Right.
and so one of the things that's great about having my own YouTube channel is I can create content very easily. And you know, Space Command is a monster because it has so many visual effects and the logistics are challenging. But I can, you know, I can post something on Mr. Sci-Fi every day if I care to. And you know, so but again, it's always being super clear on what's the most direct route to doing this, whatever this is. And also recognize that there's certain media that are more expensive than others. So for instance, a novel is very inexpensive to produce. You write it, and you can even do it through CreateSpace now and put it on Amazon.
It's funny you mentioned, because literally 2 days ago now, or was it 1 day ago, I was like, okay, I finally cleared the plate, as we would say, you know, when everybody says, you know, I have the full plate, I can't do this, I can't do that,
right.
I have no more time slices, but I cleared enough of it to be like, I can finally take the screenplay, import it into a different document, and use it as the skeletal primer structure for the book.
Right.
So I've been now working on that aspect of it, in addition to starting to write Diamond Dragons 2, because I've already had a slew of notes over things. But
sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that as well and see if I can't generate some kind of content with that, because as as we know, it's way easier to complete a book and get it either published digitally if that's the only way it gets released, or if you're like, no, we're going to do digital, we're going to do an audio visual book, we're going to do this, whatever. But it's way easier to do that than it is to do a feature-length screenplay.
When you're doing something creative, it should be done for one of three reasons: either for artistic expression, for publicity, or to earn money. Those are the three. Okay. And anytime you do anything, you should write down which of those three it is, because many people are very unclear on that, and they think, well, this didn't make any money. Why was that? Well, that was because it was to promote yourself, whatever.
Right.
But
what if I told you that it was for all three?
That's fine. But then the challenge with that is, who is advising you, who knows how to do those things successfully? Because one of the things I did when I sold Magic Time, Elaine and I wrote a pilot called Magic Time that was optioned 8 times. It was a 2-hour TV pilot where magic comes back, all the machines in the world stop running, and then I sold it as a trilogy of novels to HarperCollins. Well, immediately I started going to the World Science Fiction Convention and meeting novelists and finding out how you write a novel and what works for a novel. And I realized that it was a completely different language, and I needed to learn from people who were doing it successfully, not just artistically successfully, but financially successfully. And I did learn, but I had to realize that it was a different skill and a different world, and it had different rules. And but that was I was very glad I did that. By nature, I'm not a novelist. I can write novels well, but I would go crazy if I were just cooped up in my room all the time and could never deal with any other people, except the ones in my head.
I completely understand that too, that like me developing it as a book is completely different from the screenplay itself. I was simply saying, I don't know if I made it, like if I was making it confusing, but I'm using the screenplay as the skeletal structure that I can then beef it up and fill in all the gaps and make sure, like, well, do I need to extrapolate here? Do I need to go off on a completely different tangent here, or am I going to keep it in here? But for me, it's been working really well that way, because I never intended to begin it as a book. Really? In fact, I'd rather not actually write the book if I had any ability to do so. The reason being is it's clearly a visual experience, and there's power in like Adam's voice, just as this one character, which I'd mentioned before. One of my favorites that we have in there is this bard. He's a minstrel dragon, and one of his best lines is, Adam, you want to say it, Adam? No.
We'll save it for another time.
Yeah, but
of course, he opens the mic just to do that.
Right, but anyway.
Yes, David's like, why would you even do that then? Okay, then I'll do it. He's like, music is magic.
Well, there you go.
It becomes a literal and figurative kind of metaphor in there. When this bard dragon plays his instrument, he anoints these dragons in a certain way, or he can do magical things. But in addition to that, when he plays in this tavern for them, he plays a very moving song and whatnot, and it affects their mood. So I can completely tell that people are going to resonate at one point, and they'll be like, that's exactly how I feel about music. I was talking to my composer about it. So what I'm getting at with this is that, I know that the visual and audio and the music, all that stuff is it's meant for that. And the book is just like, you know, someone will be like, you got to do a book. I'm like,
Well,
I know, I got to do a book.
Well, no, but Matthew, and we have to move on now. But the
please.
Because the Earth is you know, drying up and the sun is coming to an end. But though, but seriously, the trick of this is, you clearly have enthusiasm, which is terrific. You clearly are enlisting other creative souls, which is terrific. What you need is the clarity of, what do I want to have happen, and who do I need mentoring me who knows how to do that? And that's the key thing. Because, like, for instance, Elaine and I are working to sell TV shows. Well, we're now being mentored by the head of Cachette, which is a huge company that sells TV shows, and he has a whole skill set that I don't have. And he's not an artist, he's a salesman, and he knows what he is, and he knows who he is, and he knows what he's there to do. And that's great, because I can say to him, well, how does it look from your side of the world? How do you make this happen? And you know, because I recognize what my skills are, but I know that I need to learn from people who have other skills that complement mine. So that's some of it. But again, we can talk more about this later. But that's just some of it. So
I completely resonate with that. That's exactly what I was saying too.
Yeah.
Is that there's skill sets that I do not have. That's why I bring these people aboard the project as often as I can. But thank you guys, and cool. Yeah, if you get any pleasure out of it, go click on the link, have a look at it, say hello, whatever you like.
Thanks. Yay. Thank you, Matthew. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, there is. We have another question from Scott Baker.
Hello, Scott Baker.
Who, noticing the many photos behind you,
yes.
Some of which seem to be early 1900s, his question is there room in Space Command's story for a dip into the past, like Star Trek Next Generation's Mark Twain episodes or Babylon 5's World Without End?
Possibly, but that's not where we're going at the moment. Time travel always is very twisty-turny, and you have to be very, very careful of it. You immediately go down the rabbit hole of paradoxes. And so we jump around between generations in Space Command, but we're not overtly doing time travel at this stage, you know, and we're doing pretty much everything but we'll see where it all leads. I'm not saying no categorically. It's just you have to be a little careful. It's like, oh my God, look, it's Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, okay, fine, great. You know, though we do have an actor who will play that role, certainly, because Tom Katzis is an Abraham Lincoln, impressionist. Yeah. So, okay, cool. So let's see.
Maybe season 3.
Maybe season 3, exactly. So I guess David Goldenholtz, you're the next on my screen. Go. There you go. Yeah.
Right. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, been a while since I've been here, like 2 weeks or something. I'm back.
Good.
Just checking in, saying hi, and really all I'm doing is needing help with finding voiceover work. And yeah, but if some of you don't know me, I do voiceover, I do sound. When I say sound, I'm not a soundboard operator. I do field mixing. And I also do, I've been doing it, I don't know why I ever didn't bring it to the table. I do drone photography.
Cool.
So if somebody needs that, I'm always willing to do drone photography. It's fun.
Cool.
But yeah, I don't really need anything, just stopping by, saying hi to everybody.
Okay, great.
Remember, you can put any of that out at the table on the email.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, as we said earlier, you know, I strongly believe in finding ways to get in conversations with people who are successful in what I want to do. And podcasts are a great way to do that. Writing a book or writing articles or doing a documentary are great ways to do that. And because I find that people who are very successful have a totally different methodology from people who are not succeeding. And, you know, what they do throughout their day is completely different. And so that's why I've sought out mentors, you know, like Guillermo del Toro and Ray Bradbury and Rod Serling, because I learned a lot from all of them. Now, Rod was, of course, deceased when I wrote The Twilight Zone Companion, but a lot of the other people who made that show what it was were alive, thank God. And are
but how much does that ever stop Rod Serling?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the sad thing is that Rod died before he knew that he had created something that would stand the test of time, that would live on. that it would be that he had actually hugely succeeded. He didn't know that when he died, which is very sad. He only died at age 50 in 1975, so that was very, very sad. But
and nobody who's tried to do it again has done it quite as well.
No, he was one of a kind. He really was. So, and there's a whole conversation there. But if you want to hear me talk about the Twilight Zone for 30 hours, buy the Blu-ray, because I did 52 commentaries and produced that set, of course. So let's see. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Our next question. Good question from Willem Sowers. Will you be putting schematics? Will you be releasing schematics of the ship of the Paladin?
Yes. Well, we should. We actually have a cross section of the Paladin that someone did some time ago, and we could actually put that out. And yeah, I mean, all that stuff is a good idea. And
so that years from now, if there's a Galaxy Quest situation where aliens from another planet recreate the Paladin,
exactly. Yes, just
some nerd. Some fan of Space Command can recreate the Paladin.
I think that'll be my house. That'll be the house that I live in. Yeah, exactly. Cool. So let's see. Mark Gushwitz, you're next on my screen.
Okay, so I guess if they want to listen to you for 30 hours, they can listen to the Blu-ray. But if they want to listen to you for an hour and 5 minutes, they can listen to episode 1 of my podcast, The Screen Forum.
Yay!
In detail about Rod Serling and stuff.
Cool.
Okay, so my name is Mark. I'm an editor. I'm starting to go through withdrawals because movies have always been my drug, and not being in a theater since this first lockdown started is starting to finally get to me.
Yeah.
People say we can watch movies at home on your little TV, and it's just not the same.
No.
So there's that. But I've been keeping busy. I've working on graphics on my short film. Earl is now working on music for my short film. I haven't heard he's been working on yet, but I'm looking forward to that. Short film that I edited called Medea. I just found out is going to be playing online at the Burbank Film Festival.
Yay! Okay, cool. Yay.
And that's also a table member. Wrote and directed that. Her name is Andronica. She hasn't been reading in a while because she had moved back to San Diego to take care of her mother like a year and a half ago. But she's a table member.
Great.
And she actively uses table members for her stuff. Editing stuff for Yosemite, which has started to slow down because they're having issues up there with their water. I'm sure everybody's read about that. So they've been busy taking care of that. And I don't know, just kind of pushing forward on getting the second episode of my podcast ready for publishing.
Cool.
We've actually got 3 recordings in the can.
Wow.
So the next one's with Stephen L. Sears about Princess Xena. I never thought that we could talk for over 2 hours on Princess Xena, but we did. You won't hear it all, though. I'm cutting it down to an hour and a half. But we've decided to put a bonus section on our website. So anything that gets cut out that's interested, we can put up in little chunks on our website as well.
Great. Yeah.
It's being missed. I don't know. I just working, trying to push things forward, trying to stay positive, and kind of missing social interaction that's not on screen.
Yes, I dare say.
You're driving me crazy. I want to be face to face with people again. But that's it. Basically everything's the same as the week before. Don't need anything except for this all to end.
Yeah. Dave has a comment.
So Mark.
Yes.
If someone were to say wanting to listen to your podcast, The Screen Forum, to say it clearly, how the bloody hell would they find it?
Well, there's a website called thescreenforum.com. You can also look us up.
Coincidence?
I don't know how that happened.
Coincidence or conspiracy?
If you go to Facebook, you can find us at Screen Forum Pod, and on Twitter it's Screen Forum Pod as well.
Cool.
We are also on Apple Podcasts. We're on Stitcher. We are on something else. We're on a lot of the big ones. We're not on iHeartRadio yet because you got to be around for 2 months for that.
Great. Great.
You can also do a search on a lot of the apps and you'll find us.
Cool.
I personally, and this is just, good or bad, if you got any comments on it, one, you can give us reviews on like Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. But even if you didn't want to do that, and you wanted to reach out to me through the Facebook page, or I can give you my email address. I can put it here in the chat.
Yes.
I'm just looking for opinions on the show
Cool.
so that we can make it better.
Sure.
Positive, negative, whatever. Just
Well, this isn't quite something that everybody else would say, but I've known Mark for 10 glorious years or so at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard stuff in that interview that he had never mentioned before.
Yeah.
And I've heard the act.
Yeah, exactly. So and you're talking about me rather than Mark Gushowitz, I mean.
Yes,
yeah.
The Mark with a C, not the Mark with a K.
Right, exactly. And I love doing that interview. It was really fun, and I recommend that everyone in the universe listen to it. And you're terrific. And Mark, one thing I wanted to mention, because you were mentioning earlier about your longing for movies, going to movies. Right. They aren't opening movie theaters yet, but they actually are, amazingly enough, opening drive-in theaters, and because people can stay in their cars and not get infected. And so that's actually kind of fun. I actually grew up with drive-in theaters, and you can go in your pajamas and all that stuff. Yes, David, you had a comment?
Yes, I wanted to add on to that for Mark. Okay. Is that with the movies, you can actually, if you have an Oculus or VR, they actually are now streaming some movies and you have like a stadium seating where you can see people next to you.
Oh my God.
That's weird. That's really
kind of funny. We've been looking into drive-throughs, but they're so far away.
Yes.
My nephew is coming into town next week.
Yes.
We're going to where he's staying is up near Riverside. I think there's a drive-through there, so
That's
we're going to
fun.
try and go to one there.
Yeah. They're called drive-ins, by the way, not drive-throughs.
Yeah.
For the most part, at home with a drive-in, or even watching movies at home, you don't get to turn around and say, "Will you please shut the hell up?"
Not unless they're really loud. Yeah, exactly.
Although, to hit on what David was saying, when you listen to the podcast, you're going to hear a lot of the questions like how did you get into the business and all that, because I want people to get to know these people, but I also try to ask questions that I don't normally get answers to from other people, because I don't know the last time Mark was asked a question about Friday the 13th, the series, but I had a question ever since I was in college about that show, and he does answer it.
Wow.
So we do, ever since I was in college, I asked him, and don't give the answer. They have to listen to the podcast. I asked about the title of the show, considering it has nothing to do with Jason Bourne.
Right.
And, but then there were a lot of other things that I try to, here I get to talk to filmmakers who know there's certain things that I don't know. So I'll go into certain things that people want to know, but I want to ask questions of things I want to know too.
Yes.
So hopefully, as Dave said, that piques an interest too, so you don't feel like you're hearing the same podcast.
And just to clarify something, there are many of my credits that I almost never talk about. And not that I don't like them, it's just that I've written for so many shows. And so a lot of people don't know that I was story editor on Friday the 13th, the series, so if one goes on IMDb.com, one can see a lot of shows I wrote for or was on staff on in one capacity or another. So so it's fun because I had an office at Paramount for that job, and it was very, very fun. That was when Star Trek: The Next Generation was just starting up and hadn't aired yet. So we'd see the entire cast in uniform and in makeup eating at the executive dining room. So that was very, very fun. Those were fun days.
For me, it was, I loved that show.
Mm.
I have copies of it. I watch it still. I think it's a lot of fun. But when I was in college and it was in syndication, I would watch it all the time.
Mm.
So when I found out you were on it, I gotta ask you this question.
Yeah.
It is a good show. If you get a chance to watch it, it's got that kind of 80s and 90s feel to it that those shows had, but it's just so much. It really is a fun show.
It's fun.
I believe David Cronenberg actually directed one of them.
Yes.
And his is the weakest of the episodes, in my opinion. And he's a great director, so that's just
he couldn't.
A lot of it.
He just didn't know how to shoot a TV show. At one point a car went out of control and hit the camera and almost hit the camera operator, who had to dive aside. He just wasn't able to work that quickly, and so that was the problem with that. So, Go ahead.
These are the kind of questions that we talk about on the show,
Yeah.
because I'm just ripe with questions. We just interviewed a stunt guy, and I knew nothing about stunts. So,
That's fun.
I got a whole. It's just much a learning experience for
Yeah.
me, Mark. For years you've been saying if you want to meet these people, talk to them, and it's everything. Now that I'm doing it, it's everything you said it was going to be.
It's fun. It's really fun.
Thank you for that.
Yay! 3 cheers. So is there another?
Here's something that I don't often mention, since you mentioned Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yes.
Before the show came on, I was among the many people who they saw for the role of Data.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah, tall, with it's the yellow eyes.
Yes.
A tall, skinny kid at the time.
Yes.
But,
Wow.
quick little reading in the New York office of Paramount, and
Wow.
I think they picked a better guy.
Yeah. Well, your life would have been very different, Dave. And
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I probably wouldn't have met my wife, so I'll do without the role.
Well, there you go. That's
for
good.
you.
That's
very
lovely.
sweet.
So great. Well said. So
Can I say one more thing?
sure, of course.
Because the one thing that you are always saying is do a podcast because you get to meet these people. We just interviewed a stunt guy, John Mania, on the show, and he loved being on the show so much that he's actually reaching out. He lives in Atlanta, Georgia, where they're doing all the Marvel movies. He's
Wow.
try and get us people like makeup artists and
Wow.
all the people who work on those movies.
That's
now.
great.
And so not only am I going to be able to get him on my show, but I'm going to be able to hopefully pick the brains of these people who are in the top in their field.
Yes.
So if you want to learn stuff, you want to reach out, do a podcast.
Yes, that's great. Great. Yay! 3 cheers. So, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we actually have an anonymous question.
Wow.
The question is, where did you get the spacesuit? That's those spacesuits that are back behind you.
Yeah, that's a good question. The where I got them from, when I was 12, Western Costume had a sale that was open to the public. Western Costume provides costumes to all the studios, and they also have many costumes that were used by the studios that were then sold to them. And so my mom and I went to this sale, and it was astonishing. And they had this spacesuit for sale, and it was a real one. It was a Navy high altitude suit from the 50s. It was used in a Twilight Zone episode called The Parallel, and it was $25. And my mom bought it for me. And actually, when I was 15 years old, there's a photo of me at 15 wearing that suit, and I actually shot a little home movie, a little amateur film when I was a teenager with me in that suit. And so someday I'll have to share that. There's a great shot of me walking through this tunnel with the light illuminating my face as the different lights hit me. It's really cool. And so we'll have to dig that out and make that happen. But so that one I got that way, and I've had it ever since. And I appear in it in Space Command. And the other one is a replica of the Tholian Webb spacesuit that William Ware Tice designed for the original Star Trek series. And when we did the Sulu episode, World Enough in Time for Star Trek New Voyages, we replicated that spacesuit, and so that's the one we used in that episode. And then someone gave me a life mask of Leonard Nimoy, so I just painted it up and put it in there for verisimilitude. And there you go. So, and I own, I think in total, I think I own 8 spacesuits. We have several from Cloverfield Paradox. We've got one from Jane the Virgin, of all things. We have odds and ends. Just we've gathered them. One actually is from the Carol Burnett show, oddly enough. And so I love spacesuits. They're really fun. And we have one that the spacesuit. We had a spacesuit contest for Space Command, and someone won the prize for that, for their entry in that. So it's cool. It's really cool stuff. So great. Thanks for asking, Anonymous. So Thane, I guess you're up on my screen, so go for it.
Good evening. I'm a SAG-AFTRA character actor, just some voiceover work. I have a voiceover class coming up next week with an East Coast luminary in the voiceover world, and looking forward to that. One of the things I've discovered is your lips get lazy and your eyes get lazy and words start slurring together, and so I've been running 20 minutes a day of reading out loud of script material just to get things moving again or keep things moving.
Good.
And as you know, last week before last was my birthday. I wrote a poem.
Yay.
I shared it with several people, including my manager, and she wanted to put it up on her YouTube channel. I said, well, I'm going to voice it and put some music with it and
great,
and some pictures. So that's been doing that for some creative work, and maybe a little publicity will come out of that.
Cool.
For following. David Bartlett has rekindled my interest in collecting things off the curb and garage sales and whatever. And so I keep my eyes open for treasures that might augment things. Had a number of personal mini crises in the last week or so, but they seem to be stabilizing and taking care of those. It's amazing how quickly things can run amok in this lockdown world where you can't get other people to do things, and things have to be done very consistently. I had to help someone go for an appointment this morning. They were 2 hours. The facility was 2 hours late. Was just jammed the rest of the day, and by the time we got to the last appointment, it was too late to accommodate. So we had to reschedule for tomorrow. And those kinds of things happen. But with the pandemic, things are just a lot more connected. And so, like several have mentioned, this being in lockdown is getting old. I'm not very good at solitary confinement, I've discovered. And trying to stay creative, trying to stay positive, trying to be hopeful about what's coming down the road in terms of when production actually starts up again. And tuning up my voiceover activity, which can be pretty much done in my home studio.
Great.
And for those that are interested, I've designed a voiceover studio for about $50 that can be portable and will work quite well for most things. So I can make that available to anybody that's interested.
Cool.
Great.
Well, great. Anything else, Thane?
No, it just requires a couple of trips. A trip to Home Depot and a trip to Harbor Freight.
Oh, great. Cool. Well, thanks. Yay. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. We have another question from Scott Baker.
Yes.
Who asks another very good question. We're getting some really great questions tonight from our Mr. Sci-Fi group. Of all the professional mentors you've had,
yes,
who has been the most helpful?
Wow, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, right.
I use mentors to learn from. So it's not so much they open doors as I learn from them. So Ray Bradbury was an amazing experience for over a decade to be able to pick Ray's brain, and it was such an honor when he had me write an introduction to the complete Martian Chronicles. That was really cool. Ted Sturgeon was I learned a lot from Ted. Harlan Ellison. Harlan Ellison probably more than anyone else had an imprint on my life, because I learned from Harlan about the Clarion Writers Workshop. I learned about how to write, how to really find stories within yourself that are unique and that no one has done before and that are very meaningful. Harlan was a very, very strong influence on me, but a very temperamental man. Writing the book with Guillermo was a great experience. I mean, it's every one of them brought something different, but the person, of course, who opened doors most for me was my friend Michael Reeves. Michael and I became very good friends. We met at Ted Sturgeon's writing class in 1975, and Michael had broken into, in addition to writing novels and short stories, Michael had broken into animation, and he said, "Hey, you want to write one of these with me?" And I wrote Space Star's finale, which was Space Ghost with Michael, and then we wrote an episode of Smurfs together. And then it was very clear that I could write on my own as well. And so I started writing on my own. And so Michael really opened the door into television that allowed me the career I ultimately had. So so he wasn't exactly a mentor, but he was definitely important to what went on after that. And then when I wrote the first Magic Time novel with Barbara Hambly, my friend Barbara, she had never collaborated on a novel, but she was a novelist and a talented one. And I learned how to write a novel just by writing a book with her. And it was like a tennis match, and I had to kind of, get my game in shape so I could play that tennis match with her. So, but yeah, so everyone's contributed something to me. And Elaine, of course, has been huge. I mean, more than anyone else. Elaine, I learn things from her every day. But also, she's the reason the Twilight Zone Companion got published. She's been the guiding light in everything I've done in the last 44 years. I mean, I don't make a move without her guiding it. I'm like I'm like an automaton, and she's working the little remote control box, which will be useful information for you, Dave, because then you don't have to talk to me anymore.
Which that actually, I think, answers there was a follow-up question, which is, have the most helpful also been the most emotionally close?
In that case, yes. In that case, yes.
So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the thing about mentors, people often mistake what a mentor is. You can go to an event and someone can say that thing that you needed to learn, that you needed to know, and you may not even have had a conversation with them. It could be a question that you ask from the audience or a question someone else asks. It's whatever turns that light bulb on inside you that makes things possible and makes things work. And I mean, everyone I've learned from basically worked their asses off to accomplish whatever they accomplished, and none of it came easy for anybody. And and that was a very important lesson. I mean, the level of work. And there's something about when a mentor whose work you hugely admires your work or likes you or respects you, that's hugely validating. And so that was another very good friend was Douglas Hayes. Doug Hayes was one of the lead directors on the original Twilight Zone, and he directed Eye of the Beholder and The Howling Man and The After Hours, many, many great episodes. And he and I became very close friends, and he was just a great guy in every way. And so he was also very instructive to me in how to build a career and live a life, really. So great. So let's see. I guess Akira, you're next on my screen. Go for it.
Hello, this is Akira. Alright, nice meeting you. It's good. I am a film composer and guitarist and a language instructor. And as a language instructor, today I'm on the top of the, this areas, language instructors on Thumbtack. And doing well, really well good as an instructor now. And also doing working on some music library, like the products and music, and some English film. Yeah, and that's it so far. Just I'm enjoying composing and enjoying teaching. And one interesting student was I'm teaching a Japanese with working with a boy with autism. And actually he's not normal type of person, but it's quite interesting, and I have a lot to learn from him. And teaching, and she's kind of genuine kind of existence, beautiful human being. And also, teaching guitar, and I'm teaching there's some young guys and some old guys, and it's very nice to communicate. Right now we do not do anything in person. Anything is like this, it's very nice. Cool. I'm enjoying it, and I'm thanks for this table meeting. This is great routine for the once in a week to meet you guys and exchanging some information, and we are surviving still in this world, and that's it so far. So I'm happy to be with you. Thank you very much.
Okay, yay! Thanks, Akira. Good to see you as always. Another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. And a shout out to Kevin Scott 76, who is also a guitar and cello teacher.
Yay!
The quest for question-wise, we have another question from Mark Lungo.
Okay.
For Mark and Elaine.
Okay,
What are
yay.
some recent books, fiction or nonfiction, that you would recommend?
Wow, that's interesting.
The Mark Siegfried Book Club.
Is there something you'd recommend, Elaine, that you were enjoying? You were enjoying the Thomas Mann stuff.
Yeah.
Death in Venice. No, is it Thomas Mann? Death in Venice. You know. And but I just read Black No More, which was a science fiction novel written in 1931 about, you know, it's a science fiction novel about a treatment that turns black people into white people and what happens in America when that happens. It's a really fun satire, and by George Schuyler. I'm reading The Kraken Wakes, which I've read before, which is a John Wyndham novel about invaders who land in the ocean. It's really good and really fun. Gosh, I generally read a number of books simultaneously. I've been reading Who Goes There by John.
Read Magic Time.
Magic Time is a great trilogy of novels. I highly recommend that.
Fabulous.
Yeah, thank you
Thank you.
for the plug, Judith. You know, and then
The check's in the mail.
yeah, and I'd recommend The Martian Chronicles, which is one of my favorite books by Ray Bradbury. There's a ton of stuff. I'll do a Mr. Sci-Fi soon about sort of what I'm reading. Usually I'm reading a history book. I'm reading a book about the writing of The Great Gatsby. I'm reading another book about World War II, because the theory that Hitler escaped, that he faked his own suicide, which I think is very probable in my own strange opinion. But yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff I'm reading.
If it's just a sweet read that you'd like.
Oh yeah, Enchanted April. Enchanted April.
I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Buzz through
It's a wonderful film, and I bought Elaine the first edition of the book, which was written in the 20s. And yeah.
Mark, what about this?
Planet of the Apes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they just did a graphic novel of Rod Serling's draft of the Planet of the Apes screenplay, because he was the first writer on it. So the graphic novel of that is really, really fun. So I recommend that.
Actually gave that to me as a gift. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really great. Yeah.
I have one too. I'm reading The Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
He is an amazing writer. He is very good at picking the exact thing that'll be super interesting for every line.
Great. That's great.
It's pretty amazing.
That's neat. And yeah, he's great. So okay, great. So thanks, Mark. So let's see. Carol, you're next on my screen here.
So nice to be here. Thank you.
Of course.
First of all, I want to props both of you for something. Mark, you talked me off the ledge last week.
Oh, good.
You did. I'm so mad at that director guy. I'm sorry his movie's not going, but it doesn't have to dismiss everyone around him.
Yes.
And you said something about the degree of manners in this city is just deplorable. And
Yes.
I said, okay, I'm just going to chalk it up to that. Because, yeah, you don't tell someone you're very interested in everything that they do and then not show up. I can't relate.
I know.
Can't relate. So thank you for your empathy. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Also, I did a little a table read for a friend of mine who's written procedurals. She has a background, which I'm glad I'm not telling you her name, because it was really awful script. Really awful. But I remember something you said, Elaine, 2 or 3 sessions ago. You said the actor has to see the concept I think I do it naturally, has to see the concept in their head.
Mhm.
She didn't present any template for me to see something.
Mhm.
So I had to create the whole thing. I was a Southern lady all of a sudden. I just created this whole thing. And I remember Elaine saying, you have to create the scenario in your head. All right, screw it, I'll just do it. So I had really fun as opposed to being bored.
That's great.
So thank you both very much. Yeah, really. I have 2 other questions.
Sure.
Can you ever write a 1-hour pilot for a half-hour series?
No.
No, okay.
Okay. Next question.
I get to the point. I'm screwing
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah.
What if you are writing something vintage and folksy,
Mhm.
and you throw in one real hip character? Does that throw it off? Is it not a good idea?
It depends. Tone is very important. So tone is the voice of the show, and sometimes by putting in like one character who's the funny guy or the hip guy, it works. And sometimes it's very dissonant, and you don't want to take away from the reality of the story you're presenting. But for instance, if you look at a movie like Aliens, Bill Paxton was the comedy guy, and every line he had was a great joke, and they all worked. And that was that was to offset the seriousness of the film, and it really worked. There are cases where you can do that in TV as well, but usually when someone tries that, it doesn't work, and it just screws things up.
But Bill Paxton was also presented as very smart and very competent, even though he screwed up. But we were at
game over, man.
Yeah. Well, we went to a science fiction convention at one point, and we asked the audience what would they like to see in the science fiction show, and what do they never want to see again. And what they never wanted to see again was the comedy relief, the butt of every joke.
Right.
They took that on as themselves. They took that on as having at some point in their lives being treated like that. And if the comedy relief is just the butt of every joke and the dope,
no, it won't work.
They found it. They just wanted that character off the screen. They found it extremely
right. So great. So anything else, Carol?
No, thank you both for being here as usual.
Yay. So Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Where was it? Sorry. I was answering other questions here.
It's okay.
Kind of a question / comment from Zach.
Okay.
Who says there's a video of Harlan Ellison called Harlan Ellison Pay the Writer, in which he rants about being paid and not working for free. So does it ever pay to write or work for free?
Yes. Here's my rule for myself. I write my own material for free. I write other people's material for money, period. And that's super clear, and it makes life super easy. Because if someone comes to me and says, I got an idea, and if you write the script, we can take it out and sell it, and we'll make $1 million. The answer is no. Now, the only exception to that is, well, there's two exceptions. One is if someone's done you a lot of favors, and they, like, for instance, I wrote a pilot for Howard Benjamin for the CW, where it wasn't, my normal way of doing things, but he needed someone who could write that draft, and he's done me a ton of favors over the years. And it was also great. It just lit up in my head. I saw how to do that script. The other time to do that is like if you are starting your own YouTube channel and doing content, and you're building audience. That's fine too, because building audience builds you credibility. If you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of people checking out your work, that's something you can take to a network or take to a buyer and say, look, I've already got a huge fan following, and that's credible, and that can generate money in many ways. So, but writing other people's stuff for free is never a good idea in general, So that's my answer to that. So let's see, Robert Doc Barham, you're next if you'd like to jump in.
Oh,
you gotta unmute it.
Can you unmute? Oh,
there you go. Okay. Great.
I just wanted to say thanks. I'm glad that I'm here. It's taken me 3 or 4 or 5 times to be able to schedule myself properly to be here.
Great.
And what little I've been here in the past 3 or 4 times, I've really enjoyed, and I look forward to continuing to come here.
Cool.
We have a few different projects that I'm working on right now. One of them is that I host and I produce a radio show currently titled American Dreamtime, the Robert Barham Show. And it is broadcast on Radio Fairfax in the Washington, D.C. metro area.
Cool.
Podcast on fcac.org, and also goes out to the metro-wide cable viewers, and it reaches, I guess right now they estimate it reaches about 450,000 people or so.
Wow.
I actually interviewed Mark at one point, and considered contacting you to interview you again. I hope
sure.
there's a forum to do that, because I'd love to interview you.
Sure. Adam and David can coordinate with you and make that happen. Sure, you bet. And yeah, because the fun thing is sometimes when I'm being interviewed, I'll come up with things that I haven't talked about before. I haven't, that is fresh. As you were saying, Mark, I try not to just tell the same stories over and over again. And again, because I've been a professional writer, gosh, over 45 years, 46 years, something like that, something insane since I was 19. And by professional, I mean people were paying me money for my writing, you know. So and even before that, when I was 18, I had a half-hour radio play on KPFK, so which I've got to find so we can put on Mr. Sci-Fi, Dave. You know, that's the next challenge down the road. But yeah. So yeah, great. That'll be great, Doc. I'll be happy to do that. So anything else you need?
At this time, no, not
Cool.
at this moment.
Okay,
Welcome back,
yay!
Phil.
3 cheers. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yep, the hits just keep coming. We've got
Yeah.
A question from Hayes494,
Hi.
who asks, what would be your advice for writers who get writer's block?
Whew, that's an interesting one. Again, accountability partners are helpful. You know, letting go of perfectionism is important because writer's block is often because you're trying to have something be perfect and it never can be. You know, just sit down. I mean, one way of doing it is you set a certain writing time, and let's say you've set 2 hours for that writing time. You just sit there for 2 hours. And just write gibberish. If you have to write something, write anything.
Well, it's also good because we do get lost in our own head.
Yeah.
If you just offer to have a friend, you know, join you for pizza,
Yeah.
or you know,
Well, they can't do that.
they can't do
Virtual
that.
pizza.
Virtual pizza.
Zoom pizza.
And you tell your friend the story that you're trying to get out, and let your friend ask questions, and sometimes just sharing it verbally with somebody else
Helps.
Helps it reconnect you with your enthusiasm, because it's easy to get lost in intricacies and details and plot dynamics.
Right.
But if you just say, I wanted to write about a father and son where the son could never cut the father a break because he felt so judged, and he couldn't hear anything but judgment, even when there was something else. And I'm familiar with that, and I just wanted to write about that, and then have your friends start to ask questions.
Yeah.
But sometimes you forget how important your initial idea was, and you start to think, oh, this is very boring, because you get bored by the process.
Mhm.
But I find just talking to people who share your story sense, sometimes that really gets it out of your head and back onto the page.
Yes. So great. So Mike, you're up if you want to take your turn. Mike Lopez.
Hey, Mike.
Hi,
Hi,
everybody.
Mike. Good to see you.
Mike Lopez. I haven't been here in a couple weeks. I've been kind of busy.
Mm-hmm.
Jim says hello.
Hi, Jim.
He'd be here, but he has a problem concentrating on the computer screen. So.
Yes.
It's not the same. It is a little harder.
Yeah. Watching TV is not the same as looking at a computer screen. It really, apparently it's not.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't have to stay the whole meeting. He could just stop by to say hi.
Yeah, but he also gets really tired and he just can't make it all the time. He really can't.
Send him our best.
But I told him I was going to be online, and he said, tell everybody I said hi.
Well, hi back.
So just a little about me. I'm Mike Lopez. I am a cop turned filmmaker. And this lockdown has been very good for me because it has forced me to be creative.
Huh.
I just finished my second film with Jim, Mentorship. We shot another film, a little 5-minute film called Don't Be a Hero. And you can find it on my YouTube page, Michael Charles Lopez. And we're planning on doing a third one by the end of the year. So he really digs it because he gets to act again. And I personally like doing it with, it just makes it feel really good. And I've got...
it was a nice little piece of work there, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's talk about sound, though, at some point.
Okay.
I got something I want to point out to you.
Okay, of all the skills that I've dabbled in during this period, sound really hasn't been one of them.
It's more of a puzzle than anything else.
Leave it to me.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I'll talk to you then about it, and you let me know whatever it is that I need to know about.
Or just get really pally with Earl, and then you don't need to know anything.
That's right. Nice. You know, I'd rather do it that way, but I do want to have some familiarity with the skill set that I don't normally have. So. And just to let you guys know, Hollywood is open. You can film. There's just a lot of hoops you got to jump through.
Yes.
On August 7th and 8th, I am shooting a SAG project.
Wow.
And, you know, in addition to all the regular paperwork you've got to fill out, you also have to do this COVID thing now, which doubles the paperwork, and it can be a real hassle. And it seems intimidating. It's not, but it just there's just so much to it. It seems intimidating. But you know, we can start filming again. It is open, so don't worry about that. You just gotta make sure you follow your P's and Q's with this COVID stuff.
Great.
What's that?
Oh, no, I think that was just crosstalk. Nothing.
Oh,
yeah.
But go ahead and do it.
Great.
Do your SAG projects. It's not a problem.
Cool.
If you guys have any need for some kind of law enforcement element in your project, I'd be more than glad to help you out. I had 14 years with the LAPD. I find it personally refreshing that, or at least a relief, that all of the stuff that's going on in Chicago and all that, we don't have that in LA.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Boy,
wow.
I think it's because, you know, you can't be tied up in a riot if you've got to wait for that agent to call you.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And what's my motivation?
I'd love to go and burn down City Hall, but my agent's going to call me right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, exactly. So great. Well, it's great to see you, Mike. And one thing I wanted to mention jumping in is that you can tell, if you look behind me there, I'm just moving the camera. That's Jim's photo of Orson Welles. It's on our wall.
Oh, so, good. I'll let him know. He's got a picture up there, too.
Yeah, I love that photo.
Orson.
Yes.
You know, Orson was drunk when he took that.
Really? Well, that's interesting.
You can tell the red nose comes through, even though it's black and white.
Wow, that's something. Well, great.
Well, is there anything you need?
Anything else you need, Mike?
No, actually, I got all my bases covered for the upcoming flick.
Great.
Cool.
Congratulations.
It's good. It's good. Like I said, I've learned a lot. It's real easy, you know, in parentheses, in quotation marks. It's easy to get your project together now if you know what you're doing a little bit.
Good.
And then just one more thing, and I'll sign off. The first computer system ever to become self-aware was not Skynet.
Aha.
Her name was Alice.
Aha.
You remember that, Mark?
Well, okay. Which one are you talking about? Go
Alice.
for it.
The guy makes this computer and he names her Alice, and then he gets a girlfriend, and she gets jealous and ruins his love life because she wants him all for herself.
Wow, which one is that?
It's an old Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes. I know what you're talking about.
Alice,
yeah. Okay, good.
So, you ever get a chance? You didn't write that, did you?
No. But
well, anyway, so other than that, if you guys need anything, let me know. I'm here for just to help out.
Well, great. Thanks. Great. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yeah. We've got a question I missed from earlier from Bob Rich.
Oh, cool.
He says, "Hi, Mark. Thanks for being inspiring.
Thanks.
How can a writer who has found his voice and is getting published and knows who inspires him discover which creative mediums are best for him?
Cool.
Try them all?
No. I wouldn't knit samplers to frame and put on the wall. No, it's basically, first of all, you see what works for your nature, what your favorite media are. Like, for instance, I read voraciously as a kid, but I always just loved television. I thought TV was such a great medium because you reach millions of people. It combines what's best with storytelling, and you can bring in music, visual effects, all these things I loved. So that was always my preference. But if you want to see artistically what works best for you, yeah, you can try different things, but also be clear on what you want. Like, how big an audience do you want to reach? How long do you want the work to be valid for? All sorts of questions, and because, for instance, another reason that I chose TV was because a novel, someone has to go out and buy it or get it from the library. They have to make the choice. It's very, you have to make a very conscious choice to get a book. Whereas TV, you turn it on and there it is, and and it goes around the world. And in science fiction shows, are popular forever. People are still watching the original Star Trek, and I just posted a movie from 1936, a science fiction movie from 1936. Yes, I know I'm boring, but the point being, try stuff, but don't spend an enormous amount of time on something that doesn't feel right. So if you don't have an affinity for novels, don't write novels. If but again, don't just write scripts that never get made, because a script is not the finished product. The finished product is the film or the TV show. And so be sure that whatever you're doing, it's reaching an audience. And because if you just write screenplays that never get made, never go anywhere, it's a very frustrating process. And building an audience, building a fan base is very important toward having an effective and thriving career. So that's what I would suggest, But remember that short stories and novels and so forth, as I said earlier, are much less expensive to create than a film or a TV show. So so these are all things. But one of the reasons the table exists is so that people can help each other make stuff for less money, and so that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Because obviously, if you need millions of dollars to make something, most of us have not the ability to raise millions of dollars. And so I would rather, as I said to Mike, way back when, pick up a phone, use it as your camera, make stuff, put it on the internet, do whatever it takes to get something that people can see, and don't worry too much about all the. I mean, for instance, with Ripple Effect, it's a 2-hour episode of Space Command we did during the pandemic. I knew it was going to be rougher around the edges and not be, as polished as the pilot. But I thought, well, hell with it. If I let go of that need, we can actually make a 2-hour episode with many of the actors we love best in the world. So I don't regret it at all. So, okay, great. So now I guess it's Benjamin and Emily Clark. If you guys are there, I don't know if you're there or if it's just the sky. And Benjamin, Emily. Nope, I guess not. So then I guess it's you, Kushik.
Lost you. Okay.
Go for it. Yeah. Unmute.
Hi everyone, my name is Kaushik. I'm a comedy writer and a comedy actor. I was in a LSCC class for filmmaking. That was like back in February, I think. January we started.
Okay, cool.
And she's my daughter.
Oh, congratulations!
What a cutie!
Yeah, what a cutie.
So we had to make 3 short films. I dropped. So after the first one, everything got shut down. So I dropped out. And I'm planning to go back in the fall. But it's like starting to worry me. I don't know how easy it will be to make 2 more films, because I don't want to make a film to get through the class. I want to make a particular film that I have already written the script for.
Right.
Two films that, I particularly want to make those 2 films. Because I have plans for that. I want to put them through film festivals, and those are the scripts that kind of tell my style of story, So anyway, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and again, one thing to remember, and this is something that I found very useful in my learning curve. You're creating a frame with something in it. Now you may have one idea of how you want to shoot that, but there's many different ways to shoot something. And as you know, with Ripple Effect, we had a scene where we had 2 actors who were in different countries, and yet they're in the same room apparently. And they never even we're in the same room physically. So one can, like, we have at Space Command, we have a green screen stage. There's a lot of ways you can fool the eye, and that's what all of this stuff is about. It's about fooling the eye to believe the reality that you're presenting. There's many ways to do that. So we all have new rules and new challenges because of this pandemic, but there's ways to tell almost any story one would want to tell if one is just inventive enough,
Probably you're right. Yeah, I should probably think of outside the normal way of shooting that and still making it look as real as possible.
Yeah. Yes.
So right after the lockdown, I was like thinking that maybe I can still go ahead with my plan of shooting 2 more films. So the first film, I immediately wrote a coronavirus short film script, in which a bunch of scientists are trying to infect people by coughing and sneezing on them. And I sent it to SAG for their approval, and to my teacher and everything. And then my teacher and SAG, they both got back to me and said that this sounds a little bit dangerous, because if you want actors to actually do that, I mean, it's we don't know how safe it is and stuff. And then eventually I just completely dropped off, So if that, I have to go ahead with that kind of plan.
Well, I mean, the thing is, first of all, remember that building a career is not about any one story. It's not about any one project. Building a career is the totality of what you're doing. But secondly, let's say you wanted to shoot a scene with someone sneezing on someone. If you shot that on green screen and just had your part, with the sneezing, and then the next day or the next week or the next month, someone comes in and does the other half of that shot, you can absolutely film that without them ever being near where you were sneezing and coughing, so.
And it could still look very real.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Just edit it together.
I sprayed somebody with pepper spray in a split screen. It was a very simple mask and a feather.
Yeah.
Went by fast. Nobody noticed that we didn't really do it.
Right. So there's a lot of ways to make that work.
Just give time out someone's reaction.
Yep.
With the editing.
Yep.
Where I cough, you've got a picture of me going cough, cough, and then you maybe next week, the other person's going, reacting.
Right. Yeah, it works. There's a million ways to make it work. So yeah, absolutely.
Editing magic.
Yes. So anything else?
So one good thing that I liked about this pandemic time, that I had a lot of time.
Yes.
And I submitted to NBC Diversity Showcase.
Great.
The writing one.
Cool.
My sketch comedies. Then I submitted for SNL, and I also submitted for the Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Oh, great. Terrific. Congratulations.
And all the material in the packet, everything that I wrote is like last 4 months events. Once they start reading, they will know that I wrote them all in last 4 months, because they tropical, whatever is happening in the country. That's what I wrote.
Great.
I feel really good about it. I took the time, sat down, and wrote the sketches, and then kept modifying them, and then sent them out.
Great. That's great. Terrific. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
There is. I'll read the question, and then I'll read the question behind the question.
Okay, sure.
So this question is from Kevin Scott 76, who says, I have a great sci-fi script idea, but I'm not a writer. What happens if, for instance, I share it with Mark and he uses it? And so the question behind the question is, what, Mark, would you say to all the people out there with an idea for something, but don't necessarily consider themselves writers?
Right. First of all, don't share your ideas with me. I don't need more ideas. I've got plenty of ideas. And I'm not going to be writing other people's material, as I said earlier. I write my own material, or Elaine and I write stuff together. That's basically the way we do things. But also there's a million people out there who say, well, I have great ideas, but I'm not a writer. Okay, fine. Then write them down and put them in a drawer, and you've got your little idea collection. I mean, it's not, if you want to have that stuff get to fruition, learn how to write. Take classes, put in your licks. It's like no one says they could be a brain surgeon, you know, if someone would just let them, you know, pick up a scalpel and take a run at it. I mean, no, with brain surgeons, they know you have to be trained and have a diploma. But everyone thinks, well, gee, I've got great ideas. I should be a writer. You know, I mean, if you have great ideas and you don't want to be a writer, then be a producer. But that means you have to be able to raise the money to hire people. And so you have to have an ability at something. Great ideas are not enough, never enough. And so what's vital is commitment. I mean, TV shows and movies are not made, even novels are not made based on great ideas. Obviously, there's some determination that someone has to make something happen, because most TV shows and movies and novels aren't great. And so that's, you know, what that story is. So so let's see. I'm looking at, so it was Beta. Yeah, Beta will give you your turn, then Earl, then James, you know, so forth. So go for it, Beta.
Hi guys.
Hi.
I'm Beta. I am an actor and a dancer and a singer.
Great.
And I work for Space Command.
Yay.
Yay. I'm David Bartlett's assistant, who was
Cool.
talking about me earlier about the whole petty cash and the accounting thing. And yeah, it's my day-to-day fun that I get to have.
Yes.
Looking at the numbers. And I enjoy it fairly now, so that is true.
Okay.
And yeah, and that I am from Austria, but I am Persian, and
Great.
I studied acting at the New York Film Academy, did a bachelor degree, and now I am just sitting and waiting, doing Space Command stuff.
Yay.
Looking a little bit more behind the scenes, learning a lot about producing from David and how to do anything out of anything in the art department section. Like, I never was thinking about making K-balls the way we're making them. So
Yeah.
I gotta say that.
It's fun.
Learning new things every day. And yeah, I don't have anything specifically right now. I'm like struggling with like figuring out what I'm going to do about my visa, because people were saying there is no O1 visa that's going to be coming out. And they said there is, then it's say go to school again, then it's financial things. So it's just like looking at my options.
Yeah. And we can
figuring
help
it out.
we can help you connect up with some people who might be able to give you you know, useful advice and
Because
so forth.
we have
We're
a
happy to help in any way we can. I have to go walk the dogs, and you know, but I'll be right back. But
Okay.
and Elaine, just to let you know, so it's Beta, Earl, and then James. Everyone else has had their
Beta, Earl,
turn.
and James.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
Okay, so yes, I mean, we've had, because storytellers come from all over the world and have great stories with different perspectives, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But there are several people at the table who have connected with extremely effective lawyers, attorneys, after going through some not so effective attorneys. So afterwards, we can, you know, connect you up with some people who act for on top of this ever-shifting landscape, which is tough, but
that would be great.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's connect you up, because there are a lot of table people who are going through that same struggle, who are very good storytellers, and it's you know, yeah. So we'll talk about some of the details and what might be helpful. Okay.
That would be great. That would be great. I appreciate it.
Sure. So anything else?
Not today. All good.
Okay,
Thank
yeah,
you.
well,
It's great
thanks. And
being
thanks
back.
for being part
Yay.
of Space Command. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! Okay, we'll get to, you know, Mark will be back momentarily. He's going to be taking the dogs down. So,
We're
Earl.
actually in a lull on
Oh, that's
questions. so
perfect.
this-
That's perfect. So Earl, welcome.
Great.
Hey everybody, Earl Smith, Earl F. Smith, multi-award winning composer, sound designer, vocalist, a songwriter. I've had a busy week, a lot of paperwork, and it's surprising finding out people losing jobs, but some reason I'm getting calls for new students. So I've added 6 new students just in this last week. And
Really?
so
Wow.
I feel extremely lucky, extremely blessed. I don't see Mike still on here, but I was going to offer myself. So in result of that, since my bills are paid and people need help with sound, I'm really willing to help out.
Oh, that's great. That's very kind.
So on the other end, I've got Mark's film. I've done quite a bit of prep work on that and creating sound bed and getting an overall sound. And then next few days, I'm going to talk with him and go through spot the film to find out what emotions he wants the audience to feel in each scene. And then from there, I will begin to start finalizing melodies and put the score together.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
That's great. That's great.
So that's about it for me. Just checking in and saying hi to everyone. And yeah.
Okay, well, welcome. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you. Okay, well, James Moore, are you there? James, are you there? Hey, James! Yay!
The rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated.
Hey.
Actually, not quite so. Hi, everyone. James Moore, writer, actor, producer, voice talent, and the Valley's most foremost authority on pancakes. Yes. So it's been a while. It's good to see that the table is still thriving and Space Command is still moving forward. I've been spending all of my time writing, working on a number of different projects, still surprisingly enough, taking meetings left and right via Skype and Zoom. So it's a strange and unusual time. There's nothing specific that I personally need at this time. Although I did do something recently within the last few weeks, considering COVID has dealt our industry as well as the world such an amazing blow. I recently became a certified COVID compliance officer. So as we move forward into this new age, if you need a COVID compliance officer on your set, who is certified and knows everything you need to have to make sure that you're safe, your talent, your crew is safe, how to be COVID compliant. Also, if you have questions in that regard, please feel free to reach out. More than happy to answer any questions you guys might have going forward. It's certainly going to be challenging for us all.
Will the set need to have pancakes at craft service?
We'll discuss that at another time. And yes, if I'm personally showing up to be your compliance officer, that is yes.
I have a question. How does one become certified as a compliance officer?
There are actually classes that you can take. They are online. Another person in the industry sort of got me engaged and involved. And it's rather inexpensive. It's only $50. The class I took, I did in a single day. There is, I will warn you in advance, there is a deluge of information for you to go through, because not only do you need to have a COVID compliance officer on set, but there are forms that must be filled out by everyone that is on set. It's not simply just taking temperature as soon as they get there and whatnot. There's certain protocols that must be maintained throughout the shoot. And as a COVID compliance officer, it's your job to make sure that everyone on set is adhering to those protocols and to call out any mistakes. So a lot of the compliance officers should be involved from pre-production on, just to make sure that there are enough materials, supplies, and that the protocols, as well as having a general meeting with the entire cast and crew to inform everyone that they understand what the rules are that everyone needs to follow. My wife, who's a registered nurse, also became a compliance officer, and we started to understand very quickly as we were getting into this thing just how big of a need this is going to be going forward, especially with SAG, with their new protocols and guidelines for actors and actresses on set, and other unions, I'm sure will follow. So if you have any questions, or if I could be of assistance in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out. And of course, as always, if you are looking for someone to create or write a scene for you, something to go on your reel, as a member of the table for a number of years now, I've done this for free for table members. Again, just hit me up. Let me know what you're looking for. The worst it'll cost you is a cup of coffee and a stack of pancakes.
James, now we got from some of the emails that we're shooting back and forth that the rules keep shifting. How do you have to keep abreast of that as to
yes.
How do they email you, or how do you keep on top of that? It seems to be moving so quickly.
So because I went through a company called healtheducationservices.net. And they regularly update their information on what's going on in terms of COVID compliance. How they have a resource guide that that every officer should be taking advantage of on a regular basis. Checking at least once a week. At this point, if not every other day, with the way things are going right now. Primarily because there is no vaccine, and there's certain things that they want people to be able to do on sets that keep them safe, that are very specific. So things like they actually discourage everyone wearing rubber gloves because that gives you a false sense of security. In terms of being safe, that it does not actually protect you, because as you're wearing these gloves for hours at a time, perspiration and everything builds up, and that leads just to more potential droplets that could be causing other people to be exposed. And so it's literally like an additional separate full-time job on set that you need to have someone there that's actually making sure that that everybody's safe at all times. They don't want any COVID officers to be performing any other duties while they're on set, because they want 100% of your attention focused on making sure that everyone stays safe.
That's great. That's great. So, is there anything that you need, James?
Other than a 24-year-old bottle of scotch, I think I'm good.
Okay, great. And pancakes. Yeah.
And pancakes.
Yay.
Of course. Always.
Okay. Yay.
Always. And again, shoot me an email if you like to become a COVID compliance officer. I'm happy to share the information. Like I said, I don't make any money off of referring people or anything like that, but I get the feeling that with our industry going forward, because just to give you guys an idea, there has to be one COVID compliance officer on set for every 25 people. So if you imagine a project as big as I imagine Space Command would be, where you've got a lot of people and a lot of moving parts, you're going to need not one but several different COVID compliance officers, and they all need to be working in tandem to make sure that everybody stays safe.
Well, the way we've been planning our shoot at this point, given the uncertainty, is we're shooting in very, very small modules and piecing them together later, because we're just too concerned about what's been going on. So we are planning with very, very small modules.
Yeah, there's ways to, from everything that I've learned so far, there's ways to have a very safe shoot, especially if you have a small crew and a small cast and crews. If there's things like if you're going to be in an open air situation where it's not a closed set, actually is better than an open set is better than a closed set. So there's just a number of things that everyone needs to be aware of, that will allow you to not only be able to shoot safely, but to make sure that everybody stays healthy. There's protocols that you have to initiate should someone show up to set with a temperature higher than I think 100.4. And what you need to do at that point, what you need to do if someone during the shoot, gets a temperature, and it's such an odd and alien beast, to all of us, because we've never dealt with anything like this before, but it's set up to keep everyone on set safe.
Right. Well, thanks. That's great. Well, thank you, James. Yay. Welcome. Yeah. And okay.
just to not to break it up, but Benjamin and Emily Clark have they had some issues, so they're ready to go.
Oh, are they back? Oh, okay. They're good. Hello. Yay.
Hey.
Oh, you're back. You're back. Good. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Okay.
Yeah,
So
we had some problems earlier. So
I want to say one thing, Elaine. You and Mark look so fabulous. You guys been off and you were having a good time. You guys look like spring chickens right now. We're getting ready to go on a date.
Thanks. Thanks.
And this is
Oh.
Stella.
Oh, hello, Stella. Hello. What a cutie.
She's been sitting here with us, just watching the whole thing.
What a cutie.
She's a Yorkie mix, Maltese and Yorkie. So if anybody needs like a cute little dog for any of their projects, I can always like post some videos of her on YouTube if you ever need if anybody.
She's definitely a cutie
for that particular sort of thing.
So what's been happening?
Earl.
Yeah.
Earl, I'm going to be contacting you. I'm a piano player as well. I heard Emily.
My dad was talking about Earl Smith, who was just on a moment ago.
Yeah, my daughter's been talking about you because we had some same. Oh, he can't hear me?
No.
Okay, well, I'll be talking to Earl later through email.
Okay, great. Yes, I guess he disappeared for a moment.
One of the things I had actually wanted to bring up is this week. This week would have been the week that Comic-Con was going on in San Diego.
Yes, yeah.
And it's actually gone virtual this year. And your husband, we actually met him about 7 years ago at Comic-Con in 2013.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, so it's been 10 years since I first went there. So I'm actually planning to write about my experience and what that sort of thing meant to me and how attending events like that can be really beneficial for people trying to get into the industry.
Well, that's great. Oh, Earl is back, by the way.
Okay.
One other question for me?
Yes. And
yeah, I want to tell you. Emily was talking about when she first met you. She's going to write about how many years you spent in met Earl.
No, not Earl. No, I was talking about Mr. Zach.
Okay, Earl's a piano player, right?
Yes, huh?
Yeah, he's the one.
Okay, Earl, I'm going to be contacting you. I play piano too. And Emily was telling me about your piano, what you got posted. So you're going to.
He wanted to start doing some music lessons online.
You're going to hear from Benny Clark. We'll talk.
Okay, great. Yeah, send me an email, earlfsmith@gmail.
Yeah, I like that piano you're sitting at, man.
Oh, thank you. It's Petrov, German. I got lucky with this. $8,000 piano I got for $300.
Oh my gosh! Congratulations.
What a deal, man. Yeah. Listen, we'll be in contact with you.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So Emily, what are you doing now? Oh, they're gone again. Oh, Emily, what are you doing now?
Sorry, we're still here.
Okay.
We're still here. Sorry.
So what are you up to now?
Emily's still working on her. Tell her what you're doing.
I'm still working on my writing projects, the ones on like my family history. And
oh wow.
I'm still, I'm still working on that, and it's just been kind of an on and off thing with But other than that, I'm working on. I have a. Excuse me a second. A couple months ago, when WonderCon shut down, they also went virtual. So I have a panel currently on YouTube that I had put together. So I'll put the link in the chat box. But I mentioned it sometime before. But since then, it's been up for about 2 months now, and it's gotten over like 2,000 some hits.
Wow,
so
that's great.
If anybody wants the link to that, I'll post that.
So is your writing going for you at an acceptable pace, or do you need an accountability partner?
I'm just working at my own pace at this point.
Okay. Because if you feel that you're tripping over your shoelaces, which many of us do, always feel free to have an accountability partner, because it's easy, especially with COVID and with the writing, to slow to a pace that is not comfortable. But if you're going at your own pace, then that's great. But if you do start to feel frustration,
I see your dog there.
Yeah, the dog,
the dog's back.
and me.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, hey.
Okay. Hi guys.
There's their
Hi.
dog. Look, isn't that
Okay,
cute?
good. That's very cute.
Hello.
Hi, good to see you. So great. So so where are we? Okay, great. So anything else? Where are we?
Oh, they came back. They were
Okay,
gone.
great.
Now they reappeared. Hello.
Oh, lovely. Okay, great. Terrific. So anything you need?
I think you got what you want.
I think we're okay. I just wanted to let you know that we had actually met you about 7 years ago at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Because this week is Comic-Con
Yes.
in San Diego.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
they went
Amazing.
all this time.
If
Well.
she's talking about meeting somebody she really like, it's you.
Uh-huh.
She's so proud of meeting you, buddy. I tell you that.
Oh, great. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
She's got a lot to tell. It's gonna take a while. I'll give you a little clip. Her great grandfather used to go to the KK meeting and come back and tell the blacks what was going on in the neighborhood.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And her great grandfather, again on the other side of the family, was Booker T's secretary, Booker T. Washington's secretary. So she's got a lot to put down from her family history.
Oh
Yes,
my God.
that's great. That's great. Well,
Wow.
well, congratulations. It's
Okay,
it's,
thank you
that's
so
great.
much.
3 cheers! Yay! So bye. Talk soon. So wait, hang on. Was there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam, or?
Yes, it's perfect timing. I was, as soon as they were done, I was going to ask just Elaine this, but since you're here, we have a question from Scott Baker, who says he just saw that you both wrote for Liberty's Kids.
Yes, we did. We actually were nominated for the
Uh,
Humanitas Prize for that. Yes.
Is there any chance of doing a civil rights or women's suffrage era version?
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. I think that, what one would have to do, I think, is affiliate with academics who are experts in those fields, and then walk it into PBS and get the deal. I mean, it's Liberty's Kids was a lot of fun to write, and we basically had to footnote every single line, every single page to verify that it was accurate to the historical record.
We had 2 historians on,
Mm-hmm.
and we're both researchers.
Yes.
Sort of research fanatics, and we were very excited about writing for that. They what they did is, what company was it?
It was Deke, and it was Deke with PBS, and they the whole idea was they would have all these stars playing the voice talent, so Schwarzenegger and Walter Cronkite and Whoopi Goldberg and on, and it was set during the Revolutionary War, and we wrote 3 or 4 episodes, and after we wrote our first one, they wanted us to story edit the series, but at that point they were insisting that you have no other work, and they were paying a very low fee where it was just not tenable, and also that wasn't my destiny by any means.
But we loved it was an they pulled in all the animation people who were history buffs.
It was a fun show. It was a fun show.
And finally, there was a lot of animation people who were history buffs.
Yes.
And I was sitting there because we knew what the different episodes would be. And I was sitting there saying, Thomas Paine, I hope I get Thomas Paine.
Yes.
And I thought there'd be a big fight over who'd get Thomas Paine. And there wasn't. Everybody else wanted the battles.
Yeah, and but we had a good old time.
But we had a grand time doing Thomas Paine and then doing
Baron von Steuben. Yeah,
so
it was
character
fun.
Pieces.
It was fun.
It was really great fun.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed it. And one of the most flattering things was one of the people who did a battle thing came up to us afterwards and said, "You got more drama out of your Thomas Paine episode than I did out of my battle episode." I said, "Oh, thank you.
That's
thank
fun.
You.
It was fun.
It was. I mean, Thomas Paine is great for drama.
Well,
Just
later
amazing.
when Schwarzenegger was governor, I met him and I said, "I wrote for you," and he said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, Liberty's Kids." And I didn't tell him that the character that he was playing was gay. He didn't know that, but that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Pretty fun. So so Adam, have you had your turn yet? No.
I have not. No.
All right. Well, then
So I
go
can
for it.
now.
Yes.
It's time for me, little old me.
Great.
Again, for those of you watching at home, I'm Adam Sartain, actor, voice actor with, I can do 75 different voices, accents, and impressions. And I am a musician, and I am an associate producer on
Space Command. Yay!
So I've been doing a lot of stuff with Space Command right now, and also just recently I did book a voiceover gig. It was a repeat business. So someone who hired me before hired me again.
Great.
For 1 Minute History.
It's great.
It's a YouTube channel.
Cool.
That does
history.
Little historical excerpts that last a minute. And this one was about Thomas Jefferson and John Adams.
Fun. That's fun.
Who I won't spoil it or anything, but they both died on the same day.
Yes.
It's a very interesting day.
Mm-hmm,
Be on the lookout for that on 1 Minute History
Cool.
on YouTube. And so that was a lot of fun. I made a little money and got to do more voiceovers. So that's always fun.
Great. That's great.
And then next week, and by the way, next week I will be going camping. I'll have the Zoom and everything set up. I'm not going until Friday morning, but I will be out of town next week. So I probably won't be able to read the Mr. Sci-Fi questions.
That's okay.
But
David will do it. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
thanks,
great.
David.
Thanks. So great. So speaking of that, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Oh, that's a good question.
Segue.
Let's see.
Segue.
I can read them next week.
Great. Terrific.
There we go. Let's see. I don't think there is.
Okay. Well, that's fine.
Oh, wait. Here we go.
Oh, look out.
Robbie Riley Esquire.
Hi, Robbie.
Right. So speaking of PBS, what did you think of the 1980 PBS production of The Lathe of Heaven with Bruce Davison?
It was okay-ish. It wasn't my favorite. It was like okay. They've never done Ursula K. Le Guin's, the book that really made her career, which was The Left Hand of Darkness. That would be, of course, very, very difficult, but it's a very interesting book about gender roles. It was okay. It wasn't. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't one of my favorites. So yeah, that's my feeling about it. So Elaine, it's your turn. Go for it, Elaine. Go for it. Yay! Stake your claim.
Well, like everybody, it's been juggling around COVID, and thanks to David Bartlett, and we've been doing a lot of strategizing as to how to keep money coming in and how to shoot. Which again, our brains are beginning to get like all dried out and.
Not really.
A little bit, which is why we want help, like on Sunday to get maybe some brainstorm ideas to keep the money flowing, so we can start shooting in small modules, and keep that one going. In the meantime, I've got several projects simmering, but waiting for the COVID to lift sufficiently. So it just seems to be doing it, which includes the project in England for about South Africa, which I would love to get rolling again because it seems extremely relevant in terms of, little guys versus corrupt power structures. And then there's the Voiceless War. So I've got a number of things brewing to try and put that together, and just keeping, fortunately, thankfully, because I'm OCD, very, very busy. Okay, so
yay. So I guess
and we do have one more Mr. Sci-Fi
great.
question.
Go for it.
Before we go with you.
Good.
If you don't mind.
No, it's fine.
Especially because I missed it earlier.
Yeah, sure.
I know, I'm terrible. Robbie Riley, another question from Robbie Riley, who says, many great screenwriters, novelists write very early in the morning. Is there a particular time when you guys write?
It varies. Elaine wakes up very early, so she'll tend to be
I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
I'm the most awake in the morning. And usually I start my writing when I'm trying to sleep, like around 2 a.m. with the previous day's writing problems still brewing in my brain. And I'm like getting up all through the night, making little notes.
Yes.
For when I actually get to wake up. So I'm definitely a very early morning person. And then I start to tire. So, okay, that's, and you, Mark?
Yes. Welcome back.
Yes, your best writing is.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to like to write. I'll write all different times, but the midday and the afternoon, those are sort of my best times. I'm not a morning person, but But again, when we're really up against it or really on a roll or whatever, we'll just, keep going until it's done.
Well, adrenaline is
it varies. I mean, we have the chops where we can, do what's needed whenever.
If you have a deadline, there's nothing quite like a deadline where then suddenly that tired thing doesn't happen. You meet your deadline.
It depends. Yeah. Well, yeah. So now it's Me, Wonderful Me.
Yeah.
So yay. A lot is happening actually. We're working on completing the second hour of Redemption. So we've got a lot of visual effects plugged in, more to do. As we've mentioned previously, the studio is open and we're building sets and we're getting ready to shoot the rest of Space Command Forgiveness, which is the next story after Redemption. They're 2-hour stories that form the 14-hour first season. And we've written a number of the scripts for the rest of the season. So Elaine and I are starting to talk about the rewrites that'll basically get them ready to shoot, make them into production drafts so we can then block shoot the season. And the Kickstarter campaign, we're up to $27,000. And, just need, everyone to kind of bang the drum and help make that happen so we can get the money at the end of that process. We're still selling Space Command shares. As I mentioned, I finished Sweet Haven. Elaine and I finished this script, which is all the people in the world under 60 die and the people 60 and above have to save the world. And it's got George Takei and Mira Furlan and Robert Picardo and Barbara Bain. And I've written roles for Nana Visitor and, who else? Let's see. It's Mike Harney has a lead role. Gates McFadden, Tim Russ, Ethan Phillips, Eva Marie Saint, Jonathan Frakes. So it's a pretty amazing cast. And we're going to do a table read of that in the next couple weeks. Zoom table reads that we can put on Mr. Sci-Fi, and then everyone will be able to watch it and share it with us. And then, just continuing to write the Greenlighting Yourself book and, bang the drum for money, selling shares, doing all that stuff so we can keep shooting and getting stuff out. And meantime, we're in active conversations with Cachette and Amazon about Magic Time and Space Command. And it keeps going. And Dave Edison and David Bartlett and Beta and, Adam and Dave Edison, of course, the Iron Man of Space Command, are making the machine go. And Elaine, of course, every single day when it's like, okay, how do I do this, Elaine? And then she tells me, and then I follow her instructions as best I can. And then I walk the dogs. And so, but the life is very, very good. And as long as we all stay safe and well, life is a joy every single day for me. And putting together the images for the Mark Zickery, the Art of Mark Zickery book, because people are actually buying it on the Kickstarter campaign, and that'll be very fun. So I'm gathering all the artwork I did for several decades of my life, and we'll be talking about it. My drawings of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ron Cobb and on and on, just tons and tons. Ming the Merciless, Flash Gordon, you name it, tons of stuff.
And of course, Ripple Effect was a great deal of fun because we got to write subtext, which normally you don't get to write, and we had such good actors, creating that additional layer. It was a joy, extremely gratifying.
And you can watch, if you haven't watched Ripple Effect or the pilot of Space Command or any of the other things we've been posting, go to Mr. Sci-Fi on YouTube, and it's free, totally free, and there's a ton of stuff there. And it was very fun. We just did the commentary on Ripple Effect. That was very fun. And we did a scene from my favorite movie, Things to Come. There's a great scene that was cut out, and I found a lobby card of that scene, and then I found photos of that scene on the internet. And so Elaine and I basically performed the audio of that scene, Raymond Massey and Margaretta Scott, and it was a scene that's not in the film. And so it was really fun to portray that, and you can hear that and see that on Mr. Sci-Fi. So go for it. So that's about it for now. I think we've reached the end of our little journey tonight. So thank you, everyone. And we'll see you all next time. And definitely reach out if you want to be part of that Zoom call on Sunday to brainstorm about the Kickstarter campaign. So thanks very much, guys. Thank you.
Stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone.
Good to see
Great.
you all.
Yay.
Good night.
Bye. Take care.